This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a big Tuesday game day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis. And we got a busy one tonight coming out of a very, very tough 1-0 loss, or 2-0 loss, I guess, with the empty netter in Chicago last night for the Winnipeg Jets. The headlines were all about the emotional return of Jonathan Toews to the Windy City. And what a moment or moments we saw last night. Incredible buzz in the building heading into the opening puck drop, and a tribute video and moment that we won't soon forget. 3, 4, 5 minutes. I don't know how long that was, but it just seemed to go on forever. And certainly special and very well-deserved from Jonathan Toews. And we will certainly touch on that. But as I tweeted out afterward, this is the game that the Winnipeg Jets absolutely had to win. If you were going to hold on to any hopes of getting back into a realistic chance to push for a playoff spot, they couldn't give games like this away against teams below the playoff line. We talked about yesterday on the program about what needed to happen this week and over the course of these next 5 games before they get to Tampa and Florida next week. And none of the positive possibilities for the Winnipeg Jets involved losing in regulation last night to the Chicago Blackhawks. So just as the team was sort of pulling people closer to maybe get some hope and belief that they could be on a run, you have a setback like last night that really, really does stub the momentum that they had coming out of that 4-game winning streak, and even a fun, exciting point got against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That being said, the schedule moves on, and they've got another opportunity to get 2 points on the board tonight, but a really tough spot on the schedule for them. I mean, the St. Louis Blues have been chilling in Winnipeg yesterday. The Jets were, of course, in Chicago and had to fly back afterwards. No morning skate today. We will drop the puck at 7 o'clock. We'll get to that coming up when Michael Remis joins us in just a couple of moments. There is going to be and I guess we'll talk about this with Reem as well, big announcement today on the Alumni game for next season's Heritage Classic between the Jets and Habs here in Winnipeg. So we'll find that out. We'll have Connor down there at the press conference at 5:15 today. And I know the guys will talk about that on the post game. And, of course, we'll dive into those rosters tomorrow on the off day of this busy week for the Winnipeg Jets. But that game, of course, if you missed it, Saturday, October 24th will be the Alumni game. And then Sunday, the 25th, will be the Heritage Classic between the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens over at Princess Auto Stadium. Just before we bring Remo in, Nick Alberga, the Golden Muzzy himself from Daily Face-Off, is going to jump on the program with us. We'll hit some of the trade news in and around the league, some of the big stories, not just here in Winnipeg, but around the National Hockey League. Then we'll have the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton, jump on. Looking forward to talking to Jeff about the plight of the Jets, as well as maybe a few CFL offseason topics. And speaking of the CFL, it's great news yesterday. We got that tweet from Ed Tate that Trey Vaval will be back with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Went to 6 NFL workouts, but did not sign a contract. So he will be back in blue and gold next year, and he's going to join us coming up from his offseason home in Kansas City a little bit later on in the program. We'll also have Pat Gregoire jump on. Patty and I will hit the cool bet lines, see what Patty's thinking about the second event of the PGA Tour season, the Amex, coming up on the weekend. and maybe put something together for a relatively busy slate tonight in the National Hockey League. Great to have you all with us. One other thing we do, shout out to our pal, Mike Lay, accountant to the Stars. I guess Mike's getting wined and dined tonight in one of the suites. So he said, you know what, let's hook up a loyal Jet fan and WST listener with a pair of tickets. So we will be doing that a little bit later on. If you want to go and are able to go, we'll give you details on how you can get in on that in just a minute. Just before we bring in Reem, big shout out to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, Winnipeg Jets, our next Winnipeg Sports Talk game is going to be the last one before the Olympic break. And it is the team the Jets will be facing in the Heritage Classic, the Montreal Canadiens. We're taking on the Wild tonight. They will be here. Go to winnipegjets.com/WST to get your tickets for that. Also want to thank our friends at Coolbet Canada, Chud's Power Sports, Princess Auto, Uptown Alley, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, and Rowley's Transfer. Clean Line, one of the updated Clean Line lines, kind of late change, which we'll touch on in a minute before last night's game. See whether that changes tonight. Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. And we'll get to a why not question of the day shortly when we start talking about this alumni game for the Heritage Classic. Let's bring in Michael Remis, who did some good stuff with Connor Rabchak, breaking down last night's game on the WST post game, available after games and in your podcast feed in the morning for your drive to work. Remo, what's going on? How are you?
Well, I'm just enjoying all the chatter with everyone watching live about speculating who's going to be in this alumni game. Looking forward to that. But yeah, what's going on? We had the game yesterday, and I mean, what a night it was for Jonathan Toews. Unfortunately, the Jets are not able to score a goal and couldn't win the game. And then we move on, back at it tonight, hosting the St. Louis Blues, who've had some struggles their own. The first time we've seen the Blues here since Game 7. I hope someone brings a sign of like the Cole Perfetti celebration or something commemorating the Jets' Game 7 win over the Blues. Although it's kind of overshadowed by the spot they are in the standings right now, which is near the bottom. Not going so well, Huss.
Gonna see. Maybe they should have the whole team do warm-ups in jerseys with number 1.6. That would be fun. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Did that series break both of these teams?
It was such a war. Like, I remember just seeing the first game of the Dallas series. I was just laughing because it wasn't even close to the same thing. Like
a different sport.
The amount of hits in that they counted in that series was off the charts. And yeah, the Dallas, it just was unbelievable, the difference. So yeah, they just beat each other up so bad. I think the loss of Nikolai Ehlers has been absolutely huge for the Jets. And it's been unfortunate for
nights like last night. Nights like last night really show that. And listen, I thought that the second line,
they were good.
I mean, they lived in the other team's zone. I mean, like the game last night, this is not one of those ones where, oh man, they didn't have this is more of the same story that we've seen this year. You know, good effort, plenty of opportunities to have a better result, but just not finding a way to win. Like, I thought Spencer Knight was really good last night. I mean, listen, Connor Hellebuck led in one goal, but in the end, he was outdueled by the guy in the other end. Now, could the Jets have done a little bit more to maybe make things difficult for Spencer Knight? I would say yes. But, still, when you think about the zone time, the amount of time the Jets had the puck on their stick in the offensive zone, the shots that they got on Spencer Knight, the traffic that they had quite often in around there. Listen, he was full marks for the win. I was curious to see what the old deserve to win meter would say about last night's game, because sometimes that number will just be based on shots and opportunities, and it might not really encapsulate some of the other things that happened in the game, key moments or whatever. But I did feel like more often than not the Jets probably win that game, but unfortunately they didn't. And this is the thing, Remo. They have absolutely no room for error. And unfortunately, not just a loss, but a regulation loss kind of eats up some of the positive that they did last week. And I mean, realistically puts them in a situation where they just have to rattle off wins without any losses if they want to get back into the conversation. I think for a lot of people that maybe were cautiously getting their hopes up with the way the team played last week and the fact that they finally rattled off some wins, last night was sort of a cold glass of water of reality, if you will, on the realistic chances of the Jets to turn this around.
Yeah, we say they're pretty much in a real tough spot here unless they went on some 11-game win streak to counteract the 11-game losing streak, and it just didn't happen. I thought they played well, but they didn't score. They had a couple chances. They had the power play at the end where you thought, okay, this is the time where they tie it. Didn't happen. Kyle Connor had some nice chances. Second line, solid. But, hey, they capitalized on their chance. The Chicago did. And the Jets were not able to, and we're back at it tonight. And credit to the Chicago penalty kill, which is like third in the league. Didn't see that one coming from a team that's so far down in the standings, 29th. But hey, the Jets, they're even lower, 31st, 44 points in 48 games. That was kind of one where, hey, if you want to get, even you're trying to catch the teams in front of you, well, Chicago's in front of you, so you got to beat them. Now St. Louis, they're 4 points ahead. We'll see how that one goes tonight, but that was a tough L if you had any hope of coming back.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think that when we do an autopsy on this season and we look back through, this first 50 games where the season really was lost, I mean, there'll be a bunch of games where you look and realize, well, I mean, that was a game that probably last year that they win. And I would suggest last night was exactly one of those situations where, with the same chances and opportunity, they end up on the right end of the scoreboard, and sort of a tale of the season. Now, we can say, I mean, listen, they didn't have any finish. I mean, that is the bottom line. I mean, there was a ton of guys that, were in shooting positions, had it in tight, whacking at pucks. And listen, I give Spencer Knight a lot of credit. But unfortunately, the Jets did not have the finish that they needed to. And then, of course, I mean, just this murderous schedule. This is a tough spot for the team playing a rested team that had been waiting in Winnipeg after coming back off of the disappointment of last night. It's going to be very interesting to see the emotional level of the Jets tonight in this game that, I mean, like all of them, we're going to say they have to have. But at some point, and I didn't think we saw that last week, to the credit of the Jets. I mean, after that Edmonton game, which made it 11 in a row, they were able to come out on the second end of back-to-back nights, play a really solid game, and then string some wins together. But it may have been a fun week and a fleeting moment in the midst of the season. Listen, we're going to hear from Jonathan Toews in just a minute, Remis, but I mean, that certainly was what was getting the headlines and the attention last night. And the fans of Chicago, legendary sports fans that they are, really stepped up and made for a moment that I don't think anyone in the building or probably most watching will ever forget for Jonathan Toews.
No, it was incredible to watch. And, they have the TV timeout, and like, okay, what are they going to do here? And they pull up the video tribute showing all the highlights. And then it ended. And they stood up and cheered and cheered, and it didn't end. And he threw his hand up, did a lap, went back to the bench. You can see Luke Shen tapping him on the ass, saying, "Hey, go out again." And he's going out. Really, you can see he got a smile out of the guy known as Captain Serious. He's pointing to his heart, showing how much it meant to him. It was absolutely incredible to watch. For a guy that you've watched his entire career, coming with the Blackhawks, sort of World Juniors, Team Canada, and of course with the Blackhawks, 3 Stanley Cups. And we talked yesterday about how Blackhawks were completely irrelevant until Toews and Kane arrived, and those guys, were on top for 6 seasons. 3 of them, won the Stanley Cup. It was incredible stuff that they did, and you weren't sure if he was going to come back to the NHL, and here he is with his hometown team getting a large extended standing ovation. They had the signs. It was very, very well done.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, you could tell that. I mean, there's a lot of people that made a point of traveling to this game, to be there, to be a part of it, and the ovation was something that was very rare in the NHL. You won't see that too many times ever, but that is the place that Toews holds in Chicago. Let's Jonathan spoke after the disappointing loss last night with a ton of media around him. He was just asked about the extended ovation that he was greeted with at that first TV timeout.
Blew me away, obviously. Yeah, it's a crazy moment to again get that reception from the fans, and pretty special. Something I'll remember forever.
They didn't want to stop. They wanted you to keep going out there with them.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like forever. So, not sure what to do after a while in that situation. And boys kept telling me to go do another lap, and so yeah, pretty special.
Did you see the signs too that were out there?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, again, like I said, I tried to do my best to take it all in, really savor it, to really appreciate the love from the fans, and obviously, I spent some special years here in Chicago, and that's what made playing for the Blackhawks so great. I mean, winning championships, all that stuff aside, just playing for a sports team in this city and calling this home for as long as I did was just incredible, and can't thank them enough. So so always be home and have a special place in my heart.
So there's Toews after the game. Now, the one thing that he was asked for role play right now was it hard to get back in there? It was an emotional moment. It went forever. And then it's time to get back out there and play in a very, very important game, of which I thought he had an awesome game, that line in particular, for the most part. Here's Toews on, if it was difficult to lock back in after being greeted at the timeout the way he was.
Honestly, surprisingly, I was just kind of excited that I could just play hockey after that, and felt like our line was creating tonight. We had our chances. Just, I think they did a good job of clearing, second chances and pucks around their net, and didn't quite sustain enough in their zone and to find a way. So, gotta give them credit for how they played defensively, and we would love to find a way to get a couple and get things rolling offensively tonight, but it's the way it goes sometimes.
Any part of you just relieved to have these kind of milestone games over and just try to focus on getting back into the playoff mixer?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, you want to have your cake and eat it too, and when you have a game like this, to go out there and have a productive night and get a big win. But these are aside from everything, it's a big division game for us with where we are in the standings, and every chance we get, we got to try and gain some ground. So obviously we didn't get that job done tonight.
All right, so there was Toews after the game talking about the return to Chicago, but also the disappointment of losing such an important game for his team. Logan Stanley spoke after the game as well, and he I think spoke kind of for all of his teammates when he got into the feeling on the bench when Jonathan Toews got his welcome back to Chi-Town.
Yeah, it was awesome. Nobody deserves it more than him. 3 Stanley Cups, captain, unbelievable person, teammate, player. Really cool, and I think he was trying not to get emotional. We were all trying to not get emotional, but a special night for him, and would have liked to get a win for him in this building and for our hockey club, but really cool to see it.
Generated quite a bit, just weren't able to beat Spencer. I mean, does it feel like a missed opportunity given where you guys are in the standings and the chance to leapfrog them today?
Yeah, big missed opportunity. He played great in net. We got to bear down a little bit and find a way to score. Those 1-goal games, we gotta come away with 2 points.
What did you see from Isaac Phillips in his first game with the Jets?
Yeah, I thought he was great. He's obviously a good skater, big guy, handles the puck pretty well. So a lot to like about his game, and a great guy off the ice. He was kind of thrown into it tonight, and I thought he handled it really well.
What will it take to need to bounce back tomorrow against St. Louis as you got another big divisional game here?
Yeah, get out of here quick, try and get some rest, and they don't get any easier. Another big game tomorrow.
All right, big stand after the game with Ken Weave, who was in the building last night for the Winnipeg Free Press. Let's hear from the coach. And the focus from Scott Arniel, of course, was on the loss, lamenting the Winnipeg Jets not being able to beat Spencer Knight last night. Here's Arnie on the lack of being able to light the lamp.
Our zone time was great. The opportunity to attack the net. I think that we, especially in the second, we could have done that a little bit more frequently. I thought in the first period we did a great job of getting it out of the piles in the corners, getting it to the top, and then the D were getting feeding it to the net front. There was a lot of rebounds, a lot of loose pucks that we didn't get to. Chicago got to, and they just they end up flipping a puck out in the neutral zone and winning the race to it. But at the end of the day, we get in games like that. They're tight like that. Chicago is really defending the net front. We've got to find a way. We got to find a way to get inside, get those rebounds, get the greasy goals. We've been doing a really good job of that, recently. And we got to find a way to even that score.
Power play's been pretty good lately.
Yeah, they did a good job. Obviously, they got one of the better PKs in the league and kept the pressure on us there. And we didn't handle it as well as we usually do. And I think we only got 2 shots on our power plays. Usually, our attack mode we were getting 6, 7, 8 chances, and there just wasn't enough off of that. They did a real good job on their pressure.
Yeah, the special teams battle. The Hawks PK was outstanding. Listen, the Jets PK stepped up big time, killing off that 5-on-3 early. But you have to look back at the power play opportunities the Jets had, and as Arniel just said, they weren't able to generate enough real high quality scoring chances that you need to beat a hot goalie like Spencer Knight last night. Here's just a little bit from Arnie. Right back at it tonight, coming off a real tough loss. Here he is on moving forward.
Yeah, we're right back into it tomorrow, right? Another team, St. Louis, that we're going to have to take a run at here. And, again, it's Central Division. We got to get after them. We got to, come home, make sure we get our rest, get ourselves ready. Again, we're in these 3 and 4s like everybody's doing. We got to make sure that mentally we're strong, and then we got to go out and we got to get ourselves some points.
What did you see from Isaac Phillips on short notice here?
Yeah, that was real short notice for him, and might have helped him not coming in here too nervous. But I thought, he handled himself well, and used his size, skated well, made some nice plays. So he's going to probably have to go back in tomorrow. We'll see where we're at with Sal, but at the end of the day, he did what he had to do.
There's Arnie mentioning Isaac Phillips, who made his Jet debut on the blue line last night. Elias Salmonson coming down sick, costing him an opportunity to be in the lineup tonight. As I said yesterday, Arnie expecting that he'd probably be in again this evening, but we'll see. Really won't know more until closer to game time. We'll hit our expected clean lines coming up a little bit later on after Nick Alberga joins us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Before we do that, it is cold outside, but you know what? Things are heating up down at Uptown Alley. If you're looking for an incredible spot to go with the family or a group of friends, or to have an event right now during the winter, look no further than Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Just an incredible facility with tons of 5-pin bowling lanes, 10-pin bowling lanes, a state-of-the-art arcade, carnival-style games where you win tickets to take home great prizes, and amazing food and beverage options, as well as private areas for entertaining and doing private events. It's all there at uptownalley.ca. If you want to plan a birthday party or a group outing, you just simply let them know what you're planning on doing, the activities, what you want to eat, any add-ons, and their event staff will take care of all of the rest. And of course, they got a great bowl and play special every night after 9 p.m., just $20.49 for 90 minutes of 5-pin bowling and a $10 arcade card. While it's chilly outside, pop by and spend some time having a blast at Uptown Alley, 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Folks, if you have a move coming up in 2026, lean on our friends and sponsors at Roley's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years, and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. If you check out their website at roleys.com, in the far right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rollies.com. I know not a lot of smiles on Jet fans after the result of last night's game, but speaking of smiles, if you need to get your, if it's been a minute since you've been into the dentist, or you're looking for an amazing spot for a long-term dental home for you and your family, pop by and see our friend Dr. Terry and his amazing staff at St. Vital Dental Center, who've been serving generations of Winnipeggers. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with state-of-the-art equipment and free convenient parking right behind the building. Of course, they take care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus, with a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all. Go to stviteldental.ca, make an appointment today, and make sure to say hi to the gang from the WST guys when you head down to St. Vital Dental Center. And hey, a big cheers as well to our friends at Canadian Club, Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey and longtime partners of us on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and of course the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Speaking of Bombers, Trey Vaval coming up a little later on. We're going to have to wait a minute before we're sipping on CC and Gingers at Princess Auto Stadium, but of course you can pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts right now. Since 1848, Canada's finest Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. And if you're at a beer store, keep your eyes out for remaining stock and quantities of the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale, which was such a big hit over the holidays. Premixed cocktails in cans, 4-packs, and 473 milliliter singles available as well. All right, we are going to get Nick Alberga jumping on with us in just a few minutes. And when when Michael joins me again, we will go through this. But I guess I'll bring Reem in right now, and we'll get to this right now. I wanted to do a quick why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray on this alumni announcement this afternoon. I would imagine that this is going to be a 2.0 reunion from early on in the 2.0 era. So the why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp is, who are you hoping to see as part of the Winnipeg Jets alumni team next October at Princess Auto Stadium? Let us know in the chat on who you hope to see part of it. Remo, off the top of my head, the number one guy that I'm hoping we see, and partly because of how important he was to the Winnipeg Jets, what a fan favorite he was, and also because of the way his career unfortunately had to end, I really hope that there's a way that Brian Little will be out there one more time wearing that Jet jersey at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, we had Brian Little night last year. The number retirement against Pittsburgh, we had a group of fans there buying tickets. Brian Little, yeah, I think when you think of Jets, the early days of Jets 1.0, and, it's funny, it's 2026, and all the memes on Instagram are everyone posting, oh, what happened in 2016? Well, I remember 2016 was the first Winnipeg Jets Heritage Classic against the Edmonton Oilers. Then you go, further back, you think of the first Jets game against Montreal, and I wonder how many names who were in the first Jets 2.0 game will be in this one. So you were saying Brian Little. Well, I thought you were going to say Dustin Byfuglien. I don't know, what the relationship is
Obviously,
with him and the team. Well, I'm not beating around the bush here. Like, if you think of Jets, like the number one fan favorite, yeah, Brian Little, certainly fan favorite. But, I've got all my Twitter followers from tweeting out Dustin Byfuglien GIFs and highlights. So I want to personally thank him for help building my social media following. But yeah, when you think of Jets 2.0, the first name I'm going to be like, okay, is Byfuglien in? And what does that mean for the team's relationship with him after, he stepped away from the game while he's still under contract?
Yeah, I think by all accounts, the relationship between he and Chevy and the team is fine. It wasn't like he was driven. He's a different cat. I know he was out with the Blackhawks on the weekend, and no surprise, he's bigger than he was when he was playing. But yeah, I mean, listen, Byfuglien, all-time fan favorite. And it'll be great to see him if he's out there as well. It'll mean more to me to see Little, though. I mean, again, because of what he lost. I mean, he wasn't a guy that just packed his bags and ditched. And, obviously to great damage to the franchise. Totally his own decision. And, players don't really, owe fans or teams anything. If you can't do it anymore, you can't do it. But that was... coming out of the St. Louis series in 2019, which ended up being Buff's last games, where he was, still dominant. Listen, there's no doubt about it when it comes to the most spectacular and memorable players in Winnipeg Jets history. Dustin Byfuglien is at the top of the list. I will say this, though, a Brian Little return, especially in an outdoor game. I mean, if you recall, Reem, one of his final games as a Winnipeg Jet was scoring the winner in overtime in their last outdoor game in Regina in 2019. So needless to say, those two guys will be at the top of the list. And especially with them playing against the Habs in that game. Matthew Perreault would be another one that I would certainly hope will be part of the Jets alumni list.
Oh, Matthew Perreault, yeah, I think so. I saw some love in our chat for Kyle Wellwood. I would think Jim Slater, for sure. A number of fan favorites, and some people.
The GST line has to probably come back intact, right?
Thorburn has to be there for sure. And some wondering if Scott Arniel would play in the alumni game. He did play for the Jets. I joked about Martin St. Louis also playing for Montreal, but I was reminded that he, did not play for the Canadiens. So I don't know if that would make him eligible or not as a coach, but they're going to have some names on the roster. So I'm excited for this. We'll see. I'm curious about jerseys as well, because last time the alumni wore like the 80s jerseys, and you've never really seen those for sale. So I wonder if the alumni, what jerseys they're going to wear. So a lot of great topics that we will be discussing about this as we get closer. Well, it's this year, the Heritage Classic here. Very exciting.
Yeah, there's a million Buffs in the chat. We see Slater, Toby Enstrom from Reg Dunlop. Like, that's a guy that I'm not sure what his relationship with the team is. I mean, if you want to talk, he was scratched in that final game against Vegas in the playoffs, left and never returned. So that is a big question mark. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see Pav in net.
Oh, man, for sure.
You got to have Pavlik. And yes, Samster, what's Adam Party doing? I want to see his blue line toe drag one last time. 100%. The party dangle needs to be back. Mark Stewart, Tim Stapleton, some of the others. Keep your thoughts coming in there. But let's fire it up and welcome in our pal Nick Alberga from Daily Faceoff, the Golden Muzzy himself. What's going on, dude? How are you?
I'm great. I'm also thinking of some names. Sean Matthias, Nate Thompson's another guy who'd come to mind. Like, I want to see everybody back at this alumni game. If you need 60 players aside, let's do it, man. How are you?
I'm great. It's kind of fun to talk about October and the Heritage Classic, because with the Jets' loss last night, it really makes already a very unlikely challenge less likely with getting back into it, just with the season that they've had so far. But of course, listen, if you're living and dying with the Winnipeg Jets this season, you were focused in on the game. But let's face it, the biggest story in the National Hockey League was the return of Jonathan Toews to Chicago last night. We knew that would be special, but wow, like about a 5-minute standing O, you just simply don't see that very often.
Really damn cool. I still have to pinch myself and see Jonathan Toews out there in a Winnipeg Jets uniform. I thought it was amazing that it came full circle. He had a chance to sign with the Jets. He's back in the mix. In fact, I think he's looked more Toews-like, you probably would agree, in the last 3 weeks,
Big
putting
time.
up the points. Different player. It's so unfortunate to me that the comeback comes right now in Chicago when the Jets are dead to rights. been a weird season all around the NHL, never mind in Winnipeg. And, not to claim this season is cooked, but they're in deep trouble. You can make the case for a variety of different teams. When you start playing the chasing game, especially as we get closer and closer to the Olympic break, I just think they're in a really, really difficult position to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. But yeah, it was really cool, to see Toews back in Chicago after all this time. And more so, again, because he's playing much better than he did in the first half of the season, where everybody was out to get him, wondering why he came back. Why did the Jets bring him back? I think we're starting to see this guy really getting, his reps in, do his thing out there. And I'm very curious to see what happens here contract-wise with this guy.
Yeah, well, and listen, this was never the plan. This is the team that won the President's Trophy last year. They expected to contend, and, they had 2 miserable months where they had absolutely no depth scoring. Toews and his line struggled. And then you find yourselves in the bottom of the standings. And like the reality of the NHL right now, with so many 3-point games and the amount of teams ahead of you that are going to be playing each other, like this is the thing, like it's almost a mirage. You can be, you're only 7 points out. Well, 7 points out, the math involved to make that up, along with passing 6 teams, you really basically just need to win for a month. Basically the opposite of what they did rolling into last week when they broke that 11-game losing streak. I will say this. We've talked a lot, and every year I'll go on a rant at some point how the point system is insane in the NHL. Every game should be worth 3 points, 3-point win. That is the one thing, the argument that falls on deaf ears with Gary Bettman. But if regulation wins were worth 3 points, there would be you might have more ground to make up, but there's no argument that the possibility of teams in spots like the Jets would be increased with a big winning streak if you were getting 3 and your opponents were getting 0. And I tell you what, the end of games, the final 5 minutes would be a hell of a lot better than the agreed 3-point game that you often see, especially between teams in different conferences.
You're right, and you even just mentioned the Montreal Canadiens. I'm taking nothing away from the year they've had thus far, but every time I watch, they're in overtime. Like, it's crazy. And I would just add, too, like, I can relate to what you guys are going through this year in Winnipeg. Of course, I cover the Toronto Maple Leafs on a daily basis, and they've had a really good stretch and really good run, would say, over the last month, but they're still fighting and chasing and clawing to get into a playoff spot and then actually hang on to that playoff spot. I think, to your point, it is just so difficult when you start chasing. And if there's one thing I could take away from this season, it's the old adage that you can't win the Stanley Cup in October, but you can definitely lose it. And I think there's supreme cases around the league. Winnipeg, one of them. Toronto Maple Leafs are trending in that direction. Just a lot of tough games remaining on their slate, and we'll see if they can get the job done. But I think you just chalk it up to 2 really bad starts for both those respective squads. And nobody should feel guilty for them. That's why they're in their positions right now and really scratching and clawing and try to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I think from the Winnipeg perspective, they lost the season in the first half where, people will draw and look to the Hellebuck, missing some time. I don't think that's an issue. I just don't think they've had the secondary scoring that we all assumed they had. And maybe losing Nikolai Ehlers was bigger than we thought it was. And obviously they just haven't been able to help the big guys. Like that's an interesting part for me is for Winnipeg. Like the big boys, for the most part, are having really, really good seasons. Just sort of the middle ground guys that we're not seeing much from right now. So yeah, I don't know if you want to call it an anomaly season around the NHL, but it really is bizarre as we get closer and closer to the Olympic break and the trade deadline, where there's far more buyers than sellers, I would say, right now.
Well, and you know what's funny? And maybe that puts the Jets into a really good position, because I think it's going to be pretty clear that they're a seller by the time that the trade deadline arrives. But, when you look at, and this is the thing that's tough for a lot of people, obviously in our chat, there's people that are kind of realistic. We know what's happened with this team, where they're at right now. When you look at, they're right down near, maybe, they bottom out and finish with the top 3 pick, which I think looking back is probably the best case scenario. The problem is getting there. And to be honest, when you got the likes of the Canucks right now and some of these other teams that are in that neighborhood, like these teams don't have Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor or Josh Morrissey or Connor Hellebuck. Like it's incredible that they are where they are with that talent. But I mean, unless you're like legitimate, like they're not trading any of those guys. They're all signed long-term. They like the core moving forward. I mean, unless injuries happen or you legitimately shut guys down, this team is going to win games. And that, you know, I mean, the worst thing would be is to go on a run just enough to finish 13th or 14th in the reverse order, and that's where you pick right now. But it's a real challenge. I mean, there'll be players that will be moved, but I'm not sure that any of the players on expiring contracts or even the guys with a year left that might get moved is really going to change things. You could frankly make an argument that after a few of those guys are moved and you bring players up from the minors that deserve it, the team might even be better.
You're right. I think it's impossible. They're not going to get a top pick. Again, to compare it to a team I cover on the daily basis, like the Maple Leafs, we've had this conversation, man, all season long. They're just too good to be a bottom 5 team. And there are bigger issues in Toronto because the Boston Bruins currently hold their first-round pick in the Brandon Carlo deal, who was downright dreadful last night, by the way. But, yeah, like getting back to your point about Winnipeg, like you have Connor Hellebuck. He's the best goaltender on the planet. Him alone will win just enough, plenty of games down the stretch. And, in fact, I look at Winnipeg as a massive spoiler for teams that are trying to scratch and claw and make the Stanley Cup playoffs down the stretch. That's the last team I'd want to play, especially when there's no more pressure. Like, obviously, they're going to say all the right things right now, but as we get closer and closer to the deadline, past the deadline, I think they're going to come to the reality there that this is not just going. It's not going to be the year. There's too much ground to gain, and you can't really get there and make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's when I think Winnipeg becomes really, really difficult to play because, again, they got Hellebuck, they got Connor, they got Scheifele. They got some motivated guys, you know, playing out the years and obviously a little pissed off with the way things went. So massive role of spoiler ahead. But again, getting full circle to the conversation, it's got to be a one-off year for me where you look at this team and where they're headed. I think you look at it maybe from the Boston approach last year where it's like, didn't go our way, but next year we're back at things here. That's the way I'd approach it, at least.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, I think after the deadline, you know, depending on who's moved out, but regardless, I think, you know, you'll see, you know, a couple younger guys come up from the Moose and get an opportunity. And I mean, those guys are playing, like they'll be incredibly motivated to go. Like they're not looking to help anyone pick first overall. They're looking to go up and help their own situation in the eyes of the organization for next year. So it is really a catch-22. Nick, let's get a couple big deals over the course of the weekend. And I know, like, do you think that we're going to see kind of a flurry of deals before the Olympic break and then almost a second trade deadline after the dust is settled going into those 3 weeks off for the best on best?
So the deadline's March 6th, and that's a really intriguing question. The way I'll answer it, I think for teams making trades involving players that are playing in the Olympics, you have to do it before. It just because guys go to the Olympics, they get banged up. You don't know what's going to happen. So from that perspective, wouldn't be shocked if stuff starts happening. I just think a lot of teams are in that weird gray area where they don't know if they're a buyer or seller, and everything we just talked about with the standings, I think will remain the case down the stretch. There's a lot of interdivision games in the final half. The final quarter of the season doesn't help things. So I think that's probably what I'm expecting. You know, we saw Sherwood move. We all expected that. I think Vancouver is going to be a very active team. Elias Paterson is a guy that I look at now. He's going to be on the Swedish Olympic roster. So I think there'll be an emphasis on that, much similar to what we saw last year prior to the Four Nations. And then after that, I think we'll see some of the smaller deals like there in Winnipeg. I think Luke Schen's a guy who could be out the door. He's 36. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's a veteran right-handed shooting defenseman, maybe looking for a change of scenery here in a contract year. So I think teams will come calling, but that's the way I would phrase it. I think the bigger type moves involving Olympic players will happen prior to the Olympic break. And then after that, teams will look to solidify their rosters with guys that I think could put them over the top. Because I think it's important to note every year, it's usually not the team who picks up the best player available that ends up winning the Stanley Cup. It's about fit. I always turn to our Terry Lehkonen as a prime example of that, a guy Swiss Army knife that you bring in that just puts everything together. So I'm curious who that guy is moving forward.
You know, the one of the other funny things, just as we talk kind of past the midway point of the of the year is just how top heavy the West is, in particular the Central Division. I mean, like Minnesota and Dallas have sleptwalked through the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, and they still have a big gap over most of the other teams. And then you've got the Colorado Avalanche. Like, if you're the Avs, how aggressive are you at the deadline? Are you just like, we're the best team in the National Hockey League? I mean, we feel good about our chances as presently constructed against anybody, anywhere, anytime.
I know I shouldn't look at the past, but the fact that they're going to win the President's Trophy does not bode well for their chance to win in the Stanley Cup. Like, this screams Boston Bruins from 2 years ago. Having said that, I mean, I don't know if there's a Florida Panthers in the Western Conference there to ruin the parade for the Colorado Avalanche, but that's going to be a really difficult division to get out of. The three teams you just mentioned. Like, I watched Minnesota last night. They had no business probably winning that game. Their entire third line was out. It doesn't matter. Quinn Hughes is out of this world in Toronto. Kaprizov is great. Marcus Foligno notches his first career hat trick. They got two number one goaltenders right now. And I think you put that all together and they're a perennial contender. Not to mention, I think Minnesota is going to be active looking for a top six center, whether it's Nazem Kadri in Calgary, maybe Ryan O'Reilly. There's going to be a fit there. Panarin, I think, is a dark horse to go to Minnesota. So I think when you look at the pathway for Colorado, you're going to have to get through both Dallas or Minnesota at this point, then a wild card team. And then sitting at the end of the conference could be either Vegas or Edmonton. Like, I am a firm believer in the Oilers getting back there just because of McDavid and Draisaitl. And now the new added wrinkle, they can get a save, whether it's from Ingram or Tristan Jarry, they're in business. So it's not like it's a pushover and Colorado's going to get there. In fact, I'm more curious about the Eastern Conference. I think it's wide open. I'm in a position where you get into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, you have as good a shot as anybody at getting to the Stanley Cup final, where the pathway a bit different here in the Western Conference.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I'll give the Lightning, the clear number one team. I mean, I know they just lost a game, but they'd won 11 in a row. I mean, for the last month, they've been head and shoulders over just about everybody else. But outside of the Lightning, who's really good in the East? Carolina, I guess. Carolina, I mean, I'm sure they're...
Maybe, yeah.
I guess
how much faith do you have in Brandon Bussi, though? It's a question, right?
Who? I mean, that's exactly the thing. Brand new guy. He was on waivers at the start of the year.
Yeah, and that's... I'll be honest, like, I've always looked at Carolina as like a juggernaut, a really good team. I put no faith in that team to win a Stanley Cup until they solidify their crease. Freddie Anderson's not the answer. Kochekov's done for the year. Brandon Bussi's been a great story, but you're telling me he's going to pull the Aiden Hill, get to the playoffs, and grab this team? Like, when's the last time a left-handed goalie won the Stanley Cup? It's been a long, long time, man. We're talking Tom Barrasso, like early 90s, not to make you fact check here. It's been a long time. I don't got faith in these lefties. I think Stuart Skinner would be a really, really good fit for Carolina. I've been saying that since Pittsburgh acquired him, but they're in a playoff fight themselves. The Pens have been a great story. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Carolina's maybe the number two behind Tampa. You can never discount Florida, but do they get in? Much similar to the conversation we just had with Winnipeg. It's great. You got Tkachuk back. Now you got to start winning some games, and they're behind teams like Toronto, right? Like, I think there's such a dogfight, and every night teams are picking up points, whether it's the loser point or not. And that makes things really, really difficult. I think it's interesting. There's this assumption that everybody thinks Florida's going to get in. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think down the stretch. So, again, outside of Tampa, I think a legitimate contender. I wouldn't sleep on Montreal either. Their crease is of concern or question for me, I should say. Like, Jacob Fowler's young. Montembeau's had an up-and-down year. So is Dobish. I think they're a really well-built team. If they get a top six center here before the deadline, I think they're in business. So maybe Montreal's the number two there with Carolina for me.
I mean, after Carolina and Tampa, I mean, Detroit, like, would it shock you if Detroit went into a slump and missed? No. I mean, Montreal to me is definitely we'll see. I mean, the Islanders, the way they play, I think they'll be a real pain in the ass to play in the playoffs, but I think it's still sort of out there. Pittsburgh, everyone's surprised that they're there. Can they keep it up? Who knows? I mean, Washington probably should be there. New Jersey, they've got work to make up. And when you talk about players like Jersey and the Florida Panthers, teams that you expect to be there, what's complicating this even more for them, Nick, is the fact that this is an Olympic year. Like, you got 8 or 9 games, then these guys are going to probably the most intense short competition they've ever been in. And then you come back with your season on the line, needing to win night after night after night. There are going to be some teams that will be definitely impacted. And I'm not sure you can expect all of your players to come back from the Olympic Games, slide into the lineup, and be playing at peak performance when you need it the most.
To that point, the Florida Panthers have the most Olympians out of any team in the NHL. Just think about that moving forward. Again, there's this massive assumption Florida's making it. I'm not sold just yet. And I would just add, too, like, a team I cover, I know I'm biased, but I'm having a wrestling match every day with Jay Rosehill, who used to fight in the NHL over what the Toronto Maple Leafs should do between now and the trade deadline. I almost want to recoup some assets and just move forward to next season. Guys like Bob McMahon, Scott Lawton in the equation for me. And then you start to wonder, like, hey, you get in, anything's possible. They've played some meaningful games. They got the right coach. They've got a good crease. They've got a blue line that's equipped to be successful in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more that has to be the mentality. I know Tampa's scary. I know they've been doing this without Victor Hedman, but historically, the last couple of years, the Maple Leafs, since beating Tampa in the playoffs, have beat them and played really, really well against them. I think they match up very, very well against Tampa, and they have the book, it seems, on Andrei Vasilevsky. So it's wide open, and I think we're going to find out in short order who thinks they have a chance of winning or not this year in the East.
You know, the one team in the East that is so intriguing to me that I would love to see make the playoffs just for their long-suffering fans, and that has nothing to do with Josh Allen choking on the weekend, is the Buffalo Sabres. And, you know, they'd won 2 or 3 games. They fired Yarmo. They go on a 10-game heater. And then, unlike in the past where they'd had a good week or two, they rebounded from the loss with a few more wins. I mean, they've put themselves in a real legitimate position to make the playoffs, which is really the goal. Anything on top of that for Buffalo, just to end, was it 14 years? Like, the Jets have been in the National Hockey League for as long as it's been since the Buffalo Sabres have been in the playoffs. What do you think about Buffalo's chances to continue the momentum that they've built up over the last month or so and be in the top 8?
I'm right there with you. I think it would be so great for that market and that city and that suffering fan base to finally get in there. They do. I think if you think about any franchise who deserves at least one look at the Stanley Cup playoffs in recent memory, it's the Buffalo Sabres. I just think it's so interesting. Like, does Kevin Adams win the GM of the Year award even after being fired? Because it's his roster. Like, I know Kekalainen was there, but like I've never seen this where a team goes on a massive run after firing a general manager. Like, they must have really disliked him or not felt, and believed in his vision, because it's been night and day the last little while. They're getting the saves. UPL's been great. Alex Lyon, I believe, back tonight in Nashville, so that's something to document. Tage Thompson's been out of this world. Like, it's the same old same with Josh Norris. He's hurt every 3 games. He's out of the lineup once again. I think it's a rib issue with him. But everybody's pulling their weight. Their blue line's been steady. Rasmus Dahlin's been a big story. Bowen Byram's been incredible. Everybody pulling their weight, not to mention they got the internal conversation. What do we do now with Alex Tuck, right? He's a local product, wants around $10 million per season. At this point, given this run, I don't know how you don't re-sign this guy, but it's just so intriguing to me that you fire the GM and boom, snap, you go on a crazy, crazy win streak. Like, relatable too, like the Maple Leafs canned an assistant coach in Mark Savard, and ever since that, they've gone on an epic run. Maybe we underestimate the room after moves like that. But yeah, I really hope Buffalo gets in there. I think it'd be great. That fan base would go nuts, and we all know it too.
Well, and Alex Tuck is fascinating to me because he is a player, especially, you know, with all these other guys like the Connors and whatnot that have signed their extensions. I mean, he'll have a lot of interest if he gets to free agency. Mm-hmm. But at the deadline, he would also be a guy that teams would be willing to pay a premium to get in. But I have to say, there are so many intangibles that tell me that the Sabres got to do what they got to do and sign him. Like, what he's done for the culture of that team to make it through the losing. And he was a guy in the Jack Eichel trade, came back, Buffalo native, wanted to be there, wanted to be part of the solution. I can't think that there's anything other than sign, Tuck at the top of Yarmo's to-do list before they get to the trade deadline?
Ultimately, I think this is going to be down to Tuck. I think, to your point, him and his reps got to understand and comprehend he could be the guy on July 1. If you get to July 1, it takes one idiot GM to be like, here's $12.5 million. Take it or leave it. And I don't think Buffalo gets close to that. I think they're around $10 million, but he has been linked to pretty much every contender for like the last year. So I think your Buffalo, we never see this anymore. I know we always like to bring it up. Like, what if they trade him and then re-sign him back on July 1? It rarely happens. But that would probably be my approach if Buffalo doesn't think they're going to make the playoffs. The next 12 games, 13, 14 games for most teams until the March 6th trade deadline are pivotal. I'm curious, like maybe Buffalo takes that approach where they get some assets, then they circle back on July 1. But if you let this guy get to market or get with his next team, he's probably as good as gone. But I think it's going to be up to him because I think he's got to understand that he can fetch a pretty penny, probably get overpaid. It depends on how much the money matters to him, and it matters to most guys, let's be honest.
Hey, before we go, I'm sure you talked about this earlier today. What did you think about that goalie scrap last night? Where the hell did that come from?
I thought it was awesome. Again, as somebody who covers the Leafs, I hate that the narrative was about a goalie fight, not the fact that Matthew Tkachuk came back. He got steamrolled by Desharnais, and they lost to the San Jose Sharks, right? And I think Paul Maurice and company are extremely happy with that narrative. I thought it was great for the game. I couldn't believe it's been almost 6 years since the Battle of Alberta fight with Cam Talbot. Like, time flies, I guess. I thought it was awesome. An angry Russian coming from one end to the other. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me. Like, Bobrovsky doesn't have to do that. He's won multi-Stanley Cups, Vezina trophies. He's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But anything to fire the boys up. I love Celebrini's reaction on the bench, and they're really, really galvanized in San Jose. I'll be frank in saying, I don't know if I called this type of season, but I had the over in points for San Jose. It was around 72.5. And the more I think about the Hart Trophy race, the more I wonder if Macklin Celebrini is legitimate here, because it's taking on the Taylor Hall approach where it's like he has 1 billion more points than number 2 on the team. And you can make a legitimate case. You take Celebrini off that roster, they don't make the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's the intrigue for me moving forward.
Make the playoffs. Try being like 30 or 31st in the league.
Yeah. And how do you vote against McKinnon or McDavid? But I think the pathway is there. But yeah, I love the fight. I love the personality of the game when we see that.
I'm with you. I mean, I think that if the Sharks make the playoffs and Celebrini finishes top 3 in NHL scoring, I think it is a lock that he's a finalist. And I do think based on the definition of the award, and to be honest, maybe a little voter fatigue with those guys always being finalists, that there could be, I'd have to look for a line on that right now, but I'll bet there's some value on Celebrini. If you think that they can make the playoffs, it is going to definitely be a very, very tough out. Funniest thing about that goalie fight last night, and I mean, there's a couple different angles, but there is one angle kind of from the corner where you see Bob come in the background, the Panthers bench, both benches, are absolutely losing it, and as well as the fans were, but did not have a Bob Ned scrap on my bingo card when we got into the Monday night slate last night.
Unless they had some beef we didn't know about from Nedeljkovic's days in Pittsburgh or Carolina that we didn't know about. Yeah, it was like it's San Jose and Florida. They play twice a year. I thought that was interesting, but it adds some flavor. It definitely added some flavor, and I'm sure Maurice loved it. I'm sure Tkachuk loved it. And Florida's a team I'm looking at, man. Like, what's going on there? You got Tkachuk back. Barkov's not coming back for the regular season. Who do they add prior to the deadline? Marchand has been banged up the last little while, got a lot of Olympians. And I think that's a big story in the final half of the season is like Florida. Do they get a chance to three-peat?
Nick, man, always great having you on the program. Keep up the great work with Jay there for all the Leaf fans on Daily Face-Off. And let's do this again soon, maybe in and around the trade deadline. Enjoy the Olympics. Should be amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Appreciate it. At the Golden Muzzy, there's Nick Alberga joining us. You can see him on Daily Face-Off with their Leafs coverage. All right, Hammer's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Let me remind you, gang, the tickets are on sale right now for the St. Boniface Hospital Mega Million Choices Lottery. Get online, gang. St. B megamillionchoices.ca. Get your tickets early to not only be in for the incredible grand prize, your choice of one of five $1.5 million dream home packages, or $1.25 million cash tax-free. But I would highly recommend you get your tickets now before January 29th, because you'll be eligible for the winter bonus. 4 winners. Total prizes for the winter bonus worth over $73,000 cash, including one prize of $40,000. And of course, the ultimate bonus, where you'll also be in, that's got a February 12th deadline, $75,000 cash prize, a bunch of incredible Genesis trucks, and the one that I'm most interested in, the ultimate World Cup experience, which is tickets, hotel, airfare for 2 to a World Cup soccer game in Vancouver, valued at over $10,000 and $2,000 cash. Other great early bird draws. There's the 50-50 and the Big Score Plus, and it's all to support the St. Boniface Hospital and the great work they do. Get your tickets today. Red River Co-op locations, London Drugs, or get them online at stbmegamillionchoices.ca. Huge thanks to our friends at Princess Auto for their support of WST. Of course, you know Princess Auto, home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with the stadium, and of course, headquartered and founded here in the Peg, but serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new, waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them. 3 Manitoba locations, including 2 in the city today, or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. I know the Derminator and the Chuds gang is dealing with the weather right now. It's a boom. If you're in the power sports industry, it's sledding season, folks. And head on over to the beautiful new Chuds Power Sports website for details on snow day deals to start the year on snow sales event with Polaris. Sleds up to $3,000 off, plus $250 in free parts and accessories, and financing as low as 0%. Also got great deals on Polaris off-road vehicles with up to $4,000 off and financing as low as 0%. When you check out the website, by the way, top right corner, you'll see the link for the e-commerce store. Get on that. That is truenorthparts.ca, their sister site, which has, basically find the parts that you need, but also amazing deals on clearance gear and accessories. And of course, it's all waiting for you in Gimli at Chuds Power Sports for over 80 years serving the community. Corner of Highway 8 and 318, Chuds Power Sports up in Gimli. Shout out to the Derminator and the gang. And hey, listen, just before we bring in Hammer, the deep freeze is here, gang. Is your car going to make it? If you need a free battery test, head on over to the great people at Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. They'll test it for you, letting you know how you're doing. And if you need a new battery, you'll be able to get a new one at the best price in town, period. Shop local, save time and energy at the big box stores. Get the best in customer service from Donnie and his great staff at both locations. And bottom line, why pay more anywhere else than your local option, Manitoba Battery? If the car's not moving, they'll deliver it to your doorstep as well, anywhere inside the perimeter. Give them a buzz today. Shop online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's welcome in Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press to the program as we continue the festivities. Hammer, what's going on? How are you?
The countdown to Costa Rica has officially started in this Hamilton household, so that's been going for now, at least more than 12 hours or so from the weekly countdown. Other than that, man, just taking it all in, just enjoying what's a beautiful. What day is it today? Tuesday.
I don't know if we can really call it beautiful, but that's
every day is beautiful.
Reason.
You woke up this morning, didn't you, Huss?
Yeah, well, that's true. I woke up, I checked the weather app, and I thank the good Lord that we're
Regretted it.
going to be going to Costa Rica next week for the poker festival with our friends at Cool Bet. So that's keeping me alive right now. I hope that I had a little bit more juice last week with the Jets going on a 4-game winning streak. Obviously disappointed about what happened on Saturday night. And then we went into last night. We talked a lot about it. If anyone wanted to realistically be able to talk seriously about the Jets getting back into the mix for a playoff spot, what they had to do, the teams they had to pass, this was a huge week. Finishing up this homestand with the 1 game in Chicago and then hitting the road next week while we're away to Tampa and to Florida. It just felt like that was one that they could absolutely not afford to lose. And, kind of like this team all year, it's been, a couple steps forward. And unfortunately, earlier in the year, it was 3 or 4 steps back, which put them in the spot that they were. But, as much as it was all about Jonathan Toews last night, an amazing scene from a Jet perspective, that really felt like an absolute dagger of a loss where they weren't able to score a goal.
I got some good news for you, Huss. If the Jets can figure out a way to go on another, sizable win streak, like a 3 or 4 game win streak, you'll be right back to feeling the goods, man. It just has to happen sooner or later. And my point in that is that if you're someone who believes or is hoping that the Winnipeg Jets are going to make the playoffs this season, you're going to hang on to that feeling until probably it's over, right? Or very close to being over. And if you've kind of, and I don't want to say reality because I'm not trying to take any hope away from those dreamers. We need to have dreamers, Huss. It's important in this world to have dreamers. But to have, those people who might be more rooted in reality by the fact of where the Jets are in the standings, they're already seeing this is a lost season, right? They're looking for the draft lottery pick. And I don't think there's a lot that can happen in the next, certainly weeks here before the break, or week here or 2 weeks or whatever it is before the Olympic break. I don't think there's much that can happen after that's going to necessarily change people's minds, right? So the reality is it's the fact of the matter is that the big decisions, regardless of whether you're a fan or whether you're a player, is going to be made in the boardrooms, right? We have these deadlines that we're slowly / quickly approaching here, whether that be the trade deadline, whether that obviously be the end of the year, whether that be the point in time that the Jets are eliminated, right? Like, when's reality going to hit it, to click in for the management, and what is that reality, right? Like, I think when you look at what they went into this season, like, there's 2 realities facing each other right now. So, and I think the magic word today is reality for me, is, letter R. But there's the reality of going into this season expecting to win now, right? Being not just in that window to win the Stanley Cup, being very much entrenched in that window to win the Stanley Cup. And that's a message that was obviously delivered top down to the team, and especially those players, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor Hellebuck, right? Those who signed to long extensions to stay in the city because they want to be on a winner, right? That was the whole point. Why would I want to go somewhere else? We have a winner here. So you're competing with that reality of the expectations from the season, and now you're competing with the reality of where you are in the standings. The fact that, we use these arbitrary dates like American Thanksgiving. If you're not in the playoff position by November at that time, the likelihood of you getting into the playoffs aren't great. Well, what's the odds of getting into the playoffs if you're the second last team in your conference by January, or in this case, getting towards February? Like, it feels slim to none. So I guess my point is how much longer, if they are, management going to hold on to this dream, and at what point are they going to turn it to next season, right? I think we're already kind of seeing that balancing act. In that
I do too.
They're not making trades, so they're not grabbing guys and giving away draft capital, and they're also not finding anyone who's coming here with term, right? They're trying to find that same piece they've been trying to find because it fits both narratives, right? You can do it with both. Bringing in a good player with term is a benefit to any organization, not just those that are making the playoffs or those that aren't making the playoffs. So that's really the conundrum I find right now, and it's just really depends on which side you are on. And I use that point I made originally from this rant, Huss, is that if you're on that group, I mean, if the Jets win tonight and then win a couple more times, I can guarantee you your show next week is right back to where you were a week ago when this team started winning games. That's just the reality of being a fan and riding the roller coaster of a team that it shouldn't be where they are necessarily, but unfortunately are where they are. And you got to deal with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. And listen, I look at the schedule, and there's a couple things. And I do believe, and I don't know whether this is maybe just some of the things that I've heard. Maybe I'm reading into it too much with Scott Arniel, but I really did think, like, a couple of weeks ago, as that losing streak got past 7 and 8 and then 10, that they had sort of resigned themselves to the fact that the opportunity had missed. And then you rattle off 4 wins in a row, and the bottom line is, like, if you win 10 or 11 games in a row, you'll be back in it. It's very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we look back, like, let's just say for a minute that last night's game was the one game that they lost. Like, they pick up from now on, they run the table at home and win that game against New Jersey. Yesterday we said on the show, what do they have to do in the next 5 games to realistically be alive? Well, they needed 8 points. They lost 2 already. So again, a 4-game winning streak, granted, you're right. There will be some people that'll be on there. And if we get into a point where in 2 weeks we look back and, they have 1 regulation loss and a couple overtime losses and they've won 8 games of the last one, they'll be in there. But here's the funny thing. They got 9 out of 10 points in the games leading up to today, lost last night, and are in 31st in the league. So the other thing compounding it is the fact that the trade deadline is on March 6th. So there will be decisions that are going to need to be made that I think probably they already have a pretty good idea about where they're at, that are going to need to be executed before that time. And I was just talking to Nick Alberga about this. Like, let's assume that, Luke Schenn is traded. I guess the Stanley thing, well, everyone loves to talk about it and everyone has very strong opinions on it. I'm not sure whether that decision is made yet. Like, I do think that part of them would love to keep him.
When you say yet, what's your deadline? Like, yet is in imminent? Because, like, when
the deadline has to be before for Logan Stanley, it's the trade deadline.
Yes, okay.
I mean, if he is going to unrestricted free agency, if that is what comes out of your conversations with him, I mean, you have to trade him. And I do think that the market for him will be way beyond what anyone could have imagined earlier this year, which is a real positive for the team at the same point. Anybody else that, has a value outside of the core, I think you could potentially trade. But here's the thing. I think if you make those moves, like Luke Schenn is out and Elias Salmonson's a regular and, maybe Tanner Pearson goes for a mid-round pick somewhere and you're bringing in a guy from the mood, like, I could make an argument that the young guys coming into the lineup that will be getting their opportunity might actually, during that period, that last month of the season, they'll have a lot to play for. I mean, the team won't just be laying down. So for Chevy, I mean, there needs to be a clear, delineated strategy for particular players, who's being moved out, and that has to be known before the 6th of March. And to be honest, with so few games in the big picture until then, I don't know that, barring a legitimate 6, 7, 8 game winning streak, that there's anything that this team could do to sort of change the reality of where they are. And I'm pretty sure management has their head wrapped around that.
Yeah, and that doesn't make it easier. That sounds super complex and confusing, right? Because, like, the other thing too, Huss, when it comes to finding dance partners at the trade deadline, like, you got to have some talent that people want, right? Like, it's just like, so, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think Gustav Nyquist is at 7 straight games of healthy scratch. Like, I'm not saying that he's at the top of the list of guys you're going to have for trades, but, like, Luke Schenn's been in and out of the lineup at times, like I guess it's Logan Stanley, which is, we talked about, it's unfortunate to a certain degree because, or maybe not, depending on what your get is, right? You just wait for so long and then you give them up. We'll see what happens there. But, like, it's really, like, comes down to, like, Jonathan Toews and Logan Stanley. And I just don't see this team. Like, how can you have a press conference? Like, I find it's difficult, not saying it's difficult for this organization to admit when they're wrong, but like they don't really let the fans in on that part, right? Like this isn't like, I'm sure they're sharing this stuff. Like they have the philosophy that like their main, like, not that they're not accountable to fans, but their main accountability seems to be to the players, right? Like the players are the ones that they're telling their inside secrets to, what the plan is and all that stuff, right? Like that loyalty seems to be strictly indoors. And we haven't heard this organization, like, in any of the seasons that didn't work out. And I'd be interested about this one, right? Like they almost have to be asked if they're responsible for this, right? It's never one of those like, coming out and whatever, like the errors I made. There's no specifics, right? They don't let you in the specifics of their errors. And I think that would be the closest thing to it, is if they traded Jonathan Toews, right? Jonathan Toews was a massive piece of this season, like was viewed as like a significant signing. Some even called it the best signing the Jets have ever done. They did this big press conference with their season ticket holders, and they made it a big deal. And so like to deal them at the trade deadline after paying them a lot of the incentives that you would have paid for at that point, right? A lot of that was games played, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus games played here. Like that to me would be kind of their admission that this season didn't work out. And I just for some reason don't see that happening. I we'll see what happens here. But my point is that there's like, I don't think you can look at the trade deadline and have these grandiose ideas, like this idea that the Jets are going to buy or get people. Like, who wants to come to the Winnipeg Jets, who are in the like one of the last place teams in the league? We've talked about this before. I feel like even those players that don't have that trade protection, they're still, depending on what their feeling is with the organization, they usually have these conversations. They usually, like, you want to do right by a player you trade, or that makes you look bad, right? Like, you don't want other players saying this team did me dirty in this situation, right? They all know it's a business, but those stories travel. So I do think the Jets are going to have to come to this reality if they're not already there. I just don't think that they're letting anybody know. And why would they let anyone know that this is a lost year? Why would they let anyone know that they're, what their plans are for trading pieces, if that's what they want to do, like, or dumping players off, right? They want to keep these players' values up. That's why you're hearing little things come out, whether it's the Jets trying to get information out or it's the players' agents trying to get information out here. It's a place that, while the environment isn't like, it isn't your typical, and we've heard this lots, right? This isn't your typical environment for a last place team. It's not like these guys are falling apart and blaming each other and pointing fingers. It seems to be a very much a cohesion still in that locker room. So I think maybe just honesty is at play here. We've talked about this, Huss. Like to me, like the Luke Schenn dialogue or narrative around him being traded, of course he is. Like, he's not part of the Jets' plans. He was, he was a late addition last year to bring in experience, but he's not. When the Jets view who they are, Luke Schenn's very much down the list, even though he's on that list. That's what's interesting to me, is kind of coming to this reality, because I wonder if you start losing that room, right? If you start doing things, you start dumping off players too early, how much belief still exists there? We talked about how NHL players are probably the most honest to each other than anyone else. They clearly know that, the situation they're in, but I don't think they want to know that, if that makes sense, right? By dumping players, by ultimately saying that you're, calling up the younger guys, which I think is a great idea. And to your point, might backfire if you're on team tank by the end of the year.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, there's no guarantees of anything when it comes with the tank. I mean, hell, the Islanders got Matthew Schaefer. They were 10th, I think. They moved up 9 spots. I mean, the only thing finishing last does is guarantee you a top 3 pick. I don't think anyone is going to be close to Vancouver by the time everything settles down this year. But at the same point, if you're not going to make the playoffs, you'd far rather have a much better chance of getting in the top 3 pick than those others. About Toews, he's playing really well now. I mean, his value would be night and day today as to what it was a month or a month and a half ago. But it's a very unique situation with the way that he came back. I mean, who knows? There's zero chance that they would trade him if he didn't want to be traded. And I do think that the way that he's played kind of in the second half of the season so far gives a lot of hope that he might be able to help this team start over in October and stick around. Like, what do you think the chances are that, assuming at the deadline, this team is out of the playoffs, like, do they trade him or does he stick it out and maybe come back for another season?
Yeah, like I was kind of touched on, like it's a very interesting, to your point, like I tend to agree with you, Huss, in kind of the statement was pretty definitive. You said, like, if he doesn't want to get traded, they're not trading him. And I tend to agree with that. Like, I think that is the case for him for those reasons I mentioned earlier about all the fanfare of signing him, right? Asking, Mark Chipman asking Kevin Cheveldae or bringing up the fact, I don't know, whatever it was, 14 years ago, what the odds of getting this player is, right? Like,
and he does have a full no move, by the way. So,
well,
I mean, period.
Exactly, that too. Great point. The ultimate point, right? But like, and so say he is open to a trade, because the other thing too is, Huss, is like your point, like what is his future? No one's really, and I don't think you really ask a guy about his future when he's still trying to catch up to his present, right? Like he's finally playing, the level of hockey I think maybe people expected him to play it, wrongly at the beginning of the season. He's contributing all those things. He's now on the top power play. Like he is a player that is going to have an appetite from other teams that are trying to win a Stanley Cup. Now, Jonathan Toews has 3 Stanley Cups. I mean, if he would, when he was making his decision for teams, yes, Winnipeg was also in that conversation of being a winner, right? I don't think he's coming to Winnipeg if Winnipeg is a bubble team or not, hadn't made the playoffs, right? But what is his future? Does he want to continue playing? Does he want to continue playing in Winnipeg? How was this experience for him? Is this a great environment for him? Like, when you look at some of the other suitors out there, like when they're talking about Jonathan Toews and acquiring him, they're talking about bringing in their 4th line centerman, right? Like he could probably be like a, maybe on the second power play and then being that face-off guy, right? Like he's that guy that when you need a face-off, you want that, right? And when with those hard, those strong puck possession teams, of face-off winning percentage like Jonathan Toews is money. So he's going to have, like you mentioned, he's going to have suitors. To me, this is where it has to be the business part, right? Like maybe Jonathan Toews doesn't want to chase the Stanley Cup, and in that respect, okay, great. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's not even about chasing the Stanley Cup, and he wants to help out his hometown team, right? Maybe he doesn't want to be the guy who says, no, I don't want to move, or I don't want to change things up. And again, that's his total right, but maybe he wants to help out the Jets, even if he does plan on maybe coming back next season or continuing his career here in Winnipeg. It could be one of those, let me go chase this, see what you can get back, and, maybe I'll come back next season. But, I don't think even Jonathan Toews has that answer, and I don't want to pretend that I've been talking to him and know what's going on in his mind. I certainly don't want to speak for him. But I think there's options there, especially if he continues to play the way he's been playing. I still think that someone would take a flyer on him, and I think Winnipeg would for sure, understanding that he's not coming in and being necessarily your number 2 centerman, and it's more realistic, right? That whole what will he become, what does he offer, questions kind of being answered now. You're not going to have the same unanswered questions as you did last offseason.
No about it. Hammer, great stuff as always. We've got Trey Vaval coming up. I think people are going to love this conversation coming
Great
up.
Guy.
Have you been in the tanning booth this week? Any other special preparations that you've been undergoing other than intense poker training for the quest to come back with a fat sack?
Yeah, my algorithm is crazy as I research into poker strategy and what hands or whatever. I'm replaying those hands in my sleep, Huss. That's where my level of preparation is currently at. The rest of the stuff, it's just living my best life every day, so that when I go out there, I'm doing the exact same thing I'm doing here. So that's really my focus right now.
Can't wait to see you on Monday, pal. Thanks for doing this as always, and we will look forward to having a great week and cranking out some fun content when we're away next week. Take it easy.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Shout out to the viewers. Have a great one. We'll talk to you later next week.
All right. It's funny. Jeff just mentioned that his algorithm's been sort of wild lately. Nothing could have prepared me for Michael Remis's algorithm, but we won't get to that on today's program. You never know what's going to pop through your IG feed. Let's get Remo in here actually right now. We should do up the clean line lines. And we're going to let you know how you can win some tickets to the game tonight before we bring in Trey Vaval. Of course, our lines for every Jets game day are brought to you by our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your local leader for both residential and commercial services for over 40 years. Clean Line, also the official plumbing service and proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Jets, captain approved by the big guy, Adam Lowry. Now, no morning skate today. So and Scott Arniel said, yesterday after the game, he didn't expect Elias to be able to play. Assuming that he is out, they'll most likely run back the way things finished up last night, which was, of course, Connor Scheifele, Iafallo, Perfetti, Toews, Velarde, Lowry in between Nino and Vlad Nemestikov, and Morgan Barron in between Koepke and Pearson. With the addition of Phillips last night and Elias moving out, Luke Shen on the right side moved up to play with Dylan Sandberg, Morrissey, and DeMello. And Phillips, assuming he'll play, will make his second start with the Winnipeg Jets and first at home. On the left side with Big Stan, Logan Stanley moving over to the right side. Hellebuck going last night. Eric Comrie will get the start this evening. Those are Clean Line lines. Check out Clean Line services at cleanline.ca, and don't forget 24/7 emergency services by calling 204-500-2001. Listen, just before we get to the details for the contest, let me shout out our friends at Boston Pizza. Great night last night at BP, watching the game and keeping an eye on that national championship game on another TV. And, of course, enjoying ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, and gourmet pizzas at your local Boston Pizza. Lots going on this week with lots of Jets action heading into Championship Sunday for the National Football League to determine who's playing in the Super Bowl. Get down to your local BP with your gang. And, hey, if you are staying at home, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And, hey, we're getting closer to the Olympics, folks. No better place than time right now to get down to Royal Sports and get your red and white ready for the Olympic Games. Tons of great Olympic gear coming in. Tons of Team Canada gear, both for hockey and, of course, the upcoming World Cup. The best selection of Winnipeg Jets and NHL merchandise around. NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, international soccer, the biggest, best hockey department in town. Thousands of pairs of shoes and athletic gear. And, of course, for all you snowboarders, you know that Royal, for over 35 years, has been the snowboarding spot in town. If you're getting ready for that spring break trip, head on over 750 Pembina Highway. And, of course, you can check them out online and give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right. Let's bring in Remo. For a minute. We'll give a big cheers to Little Brown Jug as we bring in Trey Vaval. Remo, we hit the lines for this game tonight. I just before we mention, I do think that this game is going to be an incredible challenge for the Winnipeg Jets. Just knowing that they lost last night, these guys aren't dumb. They knew they needed to have that game. Incredibly tough part of the schedule where you're coming back from a road game and going right back out the next night. I hope we'll see the best from the Jets. This is definitely a tough spot. And if there was ever going to be maybe a sign that the team kind of understands that that loss last night was one that they couldn't have, this game against St. Louis tonight, I think, is going to be, frankly, a test for both teams clinging on to very, very faint playoff hopes.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and I wondered how would the Jets play just even after the Toews TV timeout. I mean, you're like, you got to play a game now, and now you had that game with everything around it, and now you just have to go back, come home. I'm sure they got in pretty late. St. Louis been sitting here. And now they got to play another game and try to ramp up for that one. They've been okay at home. I feel like Tuesday night games are always a bit tough. And they do have to go up against Joel Hofer, the Winnipegger. Hassan, we've talked about this string of hometown guys over the last week. Cody Glass, Brett Howden, Mark Stone having big games in their home province. Well, Joe Hofer, his numbers against the Jets, much better than his career average. So I'm anticipating a big game for him. It's probably going to be low scoring, going to be a tough one, but maybe a surprise in the top line pots a few, as we've seen them have those big games when it's unexpected, like last was against Minnesota, the game there where the top line had a really nice night. So I'm curious what we're going to see. Curious if there's going to be reaction. I want to see if someone's going to have a sign referencing Game 7. I want to see at least one one reference on the Jumbotron during the game.
Well, speaking of that, if someone wants to do that, we've got a pair of tickets from our pal, Mike Lay, accountant to the Stars, who kindly asked us to take his seats because he's going to be in a suite tonight. Shout out to Mike. What do we want to do here? How to just please, if you can't make the game, folks, don't enter. We just want to give this to a WST listener that can and will be able to make the game tonight, 7 p.m., Canada Life Center. Remo, what are the directions for our loyal viewers and listeners to get in on this?
I have a landing page, although I don't know if it's working. I'm having some website problems. Let me just double check that it works. It's winnipegsportstalk.com/tonight, as in the game is tonight. Go in, sign up, put your name in the draw. It is working, so do that, and we'll do a wheel of names after. We're not doing a marble race because people will enter just to get into the race, even though they can't go. And I can't tell you how often people enter, and I say, "Hey, you won." Like, "Oh, I won. I didn't think I would win." People just want to win.
That's the Matt Hyman.
Yeah. Hey, well, I don't want to name names. I don't want to name names, Huss. I'm not naming names. I'm just saying.
Sorry, Matt. You just took a scud from the host.
I'm just saying it's happened in the past where people have won and they say, "Oh, I didn't think I was going to win." So don't do that.
I just wanted to go in. So yeah, Wheel of Winners after Pat joins us. WinnipegJets.com WinnipegSportsTalk.com/tonight. Is it spelled properly? TONIGHT?
Yes.
Okay.
/tonight. Yes.
So anyways, if you want to go to the game tonight, do that. When we finish up with Pat, we will fire that up. But got a chance to catch up with Trey Vaval this morning. Really, really fun conversation on the upcoming year, his first year in the CFL, and what are the NFL tryouts like? We're going to get to all of that with Trey Vaval, but first up, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Well, Bomber fans got some great news yesterday that breakout rookie star and CFL rookie and special teams player of the year, Trey Vaval, will be back with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next season after completing a number of NFL workouts, and he joins us now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Trey, what's going on? It's great to have you on the program. How are you?
What's up, man? How y'all doing? Appreciate you having me on here.
Well, we're good. We're a little chilly around these parts right now. This was very bright to do a Zoom interview as opposed to popping in right now. It's Arctic, but I got to tell you, people are looking forward to the upcoming football season, and a big part of that is just the amazing impact that you had here in Winnipeg last year. Tell us about that. You finished the season. I mean, you win the awards, you get back home. How did you look back at your first full year in the Canadian Football League once you had a little bit of time to digest everything that happened to you?
When I got back home, I really didn't have time to even really look back. It was just kind of get ready for what's next or what could happen. I got back home, had to go do a bunch of workouts, and I didn't even have time to even think about the season. Still thought about it until kind of now recently. So, but yeah, it was a great year. I love my team, my coaches, everybody there in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is super dope. Everyone was super supportive. I love the fans. Just everything about Winnipeg. It's just like a homie vibe. So yeah, it was a great year.
You mentioned the NFL workouts, and I know a lot of Bomber fans were sort of on pins and needles when you come in and have the impact that you had with Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You knew that there'd be some NFL interest, and you went and worked out with 6 teams. Tell us about that, how that all came together, and what the last few months have been like for you, just with workout after workout for about a quarter of the NFL teams.
Yeah. So after the little CFL awards, like that night, I was with my family and my girl, and we was just chilling. Went to bed, woke up. And as soon as I woke up, I got a message from my agent. It was like, "You got to go do some workouts with this team." And then after that, it was just like a bunch of other teams just started texting or whatever. And then I flew back home. Like I drove back home. Actually, I didn't fly back. Like that same couple of days later, and then it was Monday. I was out with a team. Monday, Tuesday I was with a team, and then flew back home Tuesday. Worked out here at home Wednesday. Flew out with another team Thursday, Friday, and then came back home Friday and had the weekend off. And then it was like that for a couple of weeks straight, just on the go. But it was a good experience. Glad I got to do that, be around those teams, and glad they brought me in and stuff like that. But yeah.
The NFL workout process. I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of things I think we can all imagine. Oh, you're going to run. They're going to test a bunch of measurables. But, I mean, take an one of your workouts and just give us an idea about, you get in, you meet people, and what happens after that?
All right, so basically you fly in like Monday, let's say Monday night. I fly in, get in Monday night, get to my hotel. They have us fill like medical paperwork in our hotel room. And then wake up in the morning, they'll pick us up, take us to the facilities, and then we'll do like medical exams or something like that. If not, we'll just get some breakfast, and then we'll go do like a workout, and it's kind of just like indie drills, like DB drills, returner drills, stuff like that. After you get done with doing your drills and showing like how you move and stuff like that, you kind of some teams will talk to like the assistant GM or like maybe the GM or just other people that work with the team, and they'll kind of tell you like how they feel about you or something like that, or kind of tell you about the whole process of if they could sign you or not. And some other teams after that, you go do like another medical examination. So you go do like X-rays, physicals, get your blood drawn, just a bunch of other stuff like that. And then after that, they just take you right back to the airport, and then you're out. So you get in Monday night, Tuesday you wake up at like 6, 7, and then you leave, and then go do your workout, and then you're back to the airport on Tuesday, like right after you get done. So you're in and out.
Obviously it was, a really busy period. Now that, we know that you're coming back for, your second season in Winnipeg, and you've got 2 years left on the contract. How's the headspace, and where are you at? Are you training right now, or is this a time, considering the season and everything you went through afterwards with the workouts, just sort of getting away and resting the body?
Nah, I don't like to rest. I like to just keep working out. My mind wouldn't feel right just not going to the gym and stuff like that. So I literally just got back from the gym, but yeah, just keep working out right now. My headspace feels a lot better just knowing that I'm with a team now and stuff like that. Just that whole waiting and not knowing where you're going to go can have a stress on you, and kind of just figuring out where you're going to be at and figuring out what's going on and stuff like that, and who wants you and who doesn't want you. And just coming back to Winnipeg, it's a blessing knowing that that team wants me, and it's a coaches and a staff and players I've been around. So it's like I'm back at home now. So his face feels real good.
Hey, rewind to a year ago to right now, where you're about to go to the Canadian Football League for the first time. Where were you at then, and what were you thinking about the opportunity in Winnipeg before you set foot here in the Peg?
So I didn't really know much about the league, but at the time I got cut by the Falcons, and I was home for like 6 to 8 months at the time. And I was just working out every day. Like I didn't know where I was going to be at. Like I didn't hear from Winnipeg till later on. So like I was at home months on end, just not knowing if I'm going to play football again or what's going on. It's just wake up, go to the gym, and just manifesting, talking to God, and just hoping I get a chance to play football again. And then once I got the call saying I was going there, it was like, it's on. It's time to go get this job. Like I got to make sure this shit happens. Like I'm going to make sure that when I get there, I'm not leaving. Like when I was with the Falcons, it was like a lot of people don't understand the kind of the stresses of being like a rookie, especially being a rookie that's unsigned. Like you're there and you're with a team, and it's like, oh, I can be gone at any minute. I can be cut at any minute. This isn't guaranteed. So when I got that call from Winnipeg, it was like, oh shit, it's time to go. Like I'm not leaving. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do as much as I can to make sure I stay in this building and I'm not leaving this team.
Well, and needless to say, you did a pretty damn good job of that, considering the way the season turned out. I mean, from a backup and a guy that was going to get an opportunity at some point returning kicks at the beginning of the season to go out picking up 2 of the awards at the season, it speaks for itself. Well, was there a key moment last year in the season where not only you felt comfortable but knew that you could be a real impact player? I mean, I think about a couple of the key games that not only were you playing in the secondary, but obviously taking it to the house with the return game. But how do you look back at the season? Was there one point where you felt not only comfortable, but you know what, I can be a big difference maker for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
I always kind of knew like I belong playing football, so like that's never in my mind thought I wasn't. But I would say learning the rules and learning like the rouge and when to take 1 point, when to not, and the field positionings and the punts and all that. It was if you go back and watch like the first like games until we played Toronto the second time, you can kind of see I was kind of struggling and trying to figure out like when to catch it, when to not, and it was just kind of getting in my head and stressing me out. But I would say that Toronto game, I woke up that day and I don't know what it was. I just kind of was like, all the stress in my body was like, don't even stress, just go play football, have fun, and just do what you do. Like you've been doing this since you were 4 years old, just another day at the office. And then I just got there that day. And then I took the kick back and I scored. And after that first one, I was like, okay, yeah, that's when it just kind of started clicking there. And I was like, yeah, it's time now. Like I'm super comfortable. I know the rules. I know what's going on now. Now it's just time to play football. And then, yeah, after that first kick we took back, that's when it for sure kind of saved me and was like, okay, it's time to go now.
Trey Vaval, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with us. You mentioned, the work that you need to do behind the scenes. And it is a big challenge. I mean, the game is different. The field is different, both from a secondary perspective and certainly the special teams game. How much, did you do, meeting with special teams coaches, other players, and who are the guys that maybe behind the scenes helped you get prepared to, know what you were supposed to do properly and reliably, and then obviously with the success that you had?
I would just say really everybody, like special teams wise, Coach Mike was always making sure we knew what we were doing. And I was going in at the beginning of the season, just kind of sitting down with him and trying to just learn stuff and here and there like that. And then once I kind of got that feeling of what I know what I was doing, then I kind of stopped going in and meeting with him. It was kind of just, I know what's going on. We can have a regular meeting times like that. But special teams, I say Mike helped me out a lot. And then Sergio, our kicker, and Jam, our punter, like they would always talk about my mental, like his mental health. And Sergio would always text me like scriptures from the Bible and just like, man, it's gonna be all right. Just keep playing hard. Like it's gonna happen. You're gonna score one of these ones. It's all gonna be good. Dan was just telling me about the punters and just keeping me right on how their punts are gonna land and how far they're gonna go, and just telling me how that's all gonna go out. And then defense, Coach JY, DC. At first, it was just kind of hard to learn the Canadian defense, and because it's a lot of the route concepts are more. I would say it's more complex than playing down in the States, because it's just you got 3 or 4 receivers on the field at once on one side, so it's a lot going on. So at first when I was listening, it was kind of hard to kind of grasp it, but then I was kind of just trusting the process and trusting him, and he was helping me out a lot. And then just the dudes that was on the field, we would sit down and kind of discuss everything, because they didn't want me out there messing up, because if I'm messing up, that's gonna make them look bad. So they're just making sure I knew what I was doing. I would say Spook. Dietrich Nichols, that's Dietrich Nichols, if y'all don't know his nickname. Book, when I was in the boundary with him, he was making sure I was getting right. When Butter went down, that's Terrell Bonds, if y'all didn't know who that was. He went down with his knee. I came in behind him. He was helping me out, just telling me little stuff. Jamal Parker, he was helping me out a lot. Evan Homie, call him Homie. He was helping me just learn the field concepts, a lot like that. So, I mean, everyone as a whole in the whole DB group, we're all super close, and we all text all the time and talk all the time. So it wasn't hard to learn from them. It was easy, and they was teaching me a lot. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a great group, and most of those guys are back. You mentioned, Evan Holmes back. We just found out yesterday that Sergio and Sheehan are back. I would imagine, it's interesting you mentioned that you spent a lot of time, got advice and help from Sergio. He seems like the ultimate vibes guy. And a lot of kickers are sort of weird or off to their own. He seems to be a big part of what's going on over there at Princess Auto Stadium.
No, yeah, Sergio's cool as hell, man. I fucks with Sergio. He's a cool dude, man. Like, he's just a jokester, like, and his vibes are super cool. Like, when he's in the room, everyone's gonna be relaxed, everything's gonna be chill. Like, we're gonna crack jokes. It don't matter if he's in the room, it's gonna be cool.
I'm not sure Coach O'Shea is cracking as many jokes as Sergio, but I did hear, you speak about the impact that Mike O'Shea and the coaching staff had. Kind of went with your teammates as well. But in particular, I mean, during Grey Cup week, when we were waiting to find out whether you were going to come back with some hardware, and obviously you went 2 for 2 with the awards, the big concern around Winnipeg was whether Mike O'Shea was going to be back as the head coach. Obviously, that's been settled, and he is back. How much of a relief is that for you, knowing you're coming back to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with Mike O'Shea at the helm? And for folks that maybe missed that, just the impact that Mike had on you in your first year in the Canadian Football League.
Man, it's like a relief, like a lift off a brick. Just got to lift it off your chest, like just playing for him. I've always told people it's kind of really hard to explain. Like, he's just a cool dude. He's played football. Like, he knows what we go through. He knows what's happening. I'll give you an example. Like, earlier in the season, I think we were playing Edmonton or something like that. It's like one of the first couple of games. I fumbled the ball. I came to the sideline. I kind of started freaking out, like, what's going to happen? And then I kind of just watched to the sideline. Zach Collaros came out to me and was just like, bro, I've thrown so many interceptions. You're going to be good. And I kept walking. The next person was Coach O'Shea. And he was just like, you're okay. You're going to fumble again. Just next play, you're going to be good. And I was like, once he said that, I was just like, damn, like, he was just making sure my mental was good. He's making sure I was good. Of course, it's not okay to fumble, but he's like, man, if you have a long career, obviously it's going to happen. Just make sure don't let it happen again. But, like, he just being a good coach and just being there for us and just picking us up. And, just playing for a guy like that, it just makes you just want to play harder. He's a cool dude. Like, in the summer, he invited us over to his home, and we had, like, a whole team barbecue, and people were swimming in the pool and just kicking and having fun. So, yeah, just playing for a dude like that just brings that family vibe, just makes you want to play harder just for your family, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, the team's been incredibly close-knit under the O'Shea years, and the success has spoken for themselves. And obviously the goal will be to get back to the Grey Cup this year and win it with a retooled roster. How did you enjoy Winnipeg? I mean, you're back in Kansas City for the weekend. I know you're probably not missing the cold we've got right now, but outside of football, what did you most enjoy about the city, and what are you looking forward to getting back to when you head back north?
I like Winnipeg a lot, man. There's like a lot of small little spots out there that me and my friends would always go to, like eat, stuff like that. Like Oakwood Cafe, they got the best chicken and waffles in town, I'm not gonna lie. Nicolino's, me and my homies, we'd always go there like the night before like a home game.
Nick Ziff takes good care of the boys. Great guy.
Yeah. Nicolino always get us right for sure. And then I would say Tim Hortons for sure, because like every morning I'll go get some Timbits and like a little coffee before work or whatever. And like the crazy thing is, I like fell in love with Tim's, and then like I found out like I'm coming home and they are building one down the road from where I live now. So I went there and tried it out, and it was absolutely terrible, and I was mad. And I was like, this is not okay. So I really for sure got to get back to Winnipeg and try that out. So I would just say all that. And then the fans, of course, the game day atmosphere is crazy. Like they always pack out the stadium. I'll just say Winnipeg as a whole, man, it's been great.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is a great place, and it's even better when the Bombers are back in session and winning games at Princess Auto Stadium, and cannot wait to get back there and see you and your teammates get back at it again this season. Trey, congratulations again on an amazing season. It is great to have you on the program, and we'll look forward to seeing you at training camp and back in the peg to run it back with the blue and gold coming up next season. Appreciate you, and have a great rest of the offseason, pal.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all having me on here. I'll see y'all soon.
All right, good stuff with Trey Vaval. How about him dropping the 6'7"? I was not prepared for that. Of all the things I thought would come out of that interview, him doing that was not on my bingo card. But great to have him back with the Blue Bombers. coming off that legendary rookie season where he won the Rookie of the Year and the Special Teams Player of the Year. Okay, listen, if you just popped in, we are going to do a Wheel of Winners right after we talk to Pat. We've got a pair of tickets for the game tonight. Last call for entries. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com/tonight and enter. And please only do it if you are able to and want to go to the game tonight. We want to make sure these tickets are used and get them to someone that'll be there and enjoy it. All right, let's welcome in our pal, Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. We've got lots cooking these days, Patty. How are you? First of all, how are you doing? I told you I was supporting your Bills. It was a different opponent, but just a heartbreaking outcome.
Yeah, that's kind of the MO of this Buffalo Bills franchise, let's be quite honest, dating back to the wide right. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It was not easy. I'll be totally honest. Them not playing great in the first half didn't make things much easier. To be quite honest, would have almost preferred if they laid over and allowed the Broncos to
play
kind
at
of carry
the end
away.
of the first half was just that was a
killer.
full nut shot.
That's
you
the
just
game.
knew, and I mean the fact that they lost by 3, like no one was surprised that was the they ended up being. Where are you at on Josh's performance? I mean, I know there's been lots of discourse. I mean, he obviously wasn't at his best. I mean, I think you could put that game up against most of the other playoff games and say that was subpar for him, which makes it that much more frustrating because of how winnable a game that was.
That's the thing. That was the disappointing thing. That was the thing that, certainly doesn't make things easier, is the fact that for the first time probably ever in his career, ever since they've been making the playoffs, you could say that Josh Allen played in a part of them losing, because in every single other game, he virtually was perfect or did everything he could. And that wasn't the case. But with that being said, he also was the reason why they were able to get that game into overtime and even, stay within the fight and get it to a 30-30 game. It's, you're not in the playoffs without Josh Allen. You're not where you are without him. And this kind of goes into the discussion and the discourse about where this team is and Sean McDermott getting fired. Do I think Sean McDermott probably should have got fired a couple of seasons ago? I think 13 seconds is probably the case. But after this year, I think changes needed to happen. And if changes were going to happen, I think it should have happened at the top. And, Brandon Beane, the general manager, who kind of made this team and allowed Josh Allen to have that wide receiver room, to have a bit of a flawed defense, a run defense that could not stop anyone all season long, and to go into the trade deadline and not address any of the needs. And then maybe, you get rid of Sean McDermott as well. But the fact that they get rid of McDermott after what you could argue was his best piece of coaching, maybe since he's arrived here in Buffalo, kind of makes things even more frustrating. And not only does Brandon Beane not get fired, he gets a promotion to president of football operations. Just a head scratcher. Makes me to believe that there may be some power struggles. But before I go off the rails and kick and scream and kind of go off the rails like some of these other folks online have, I want to wait to see what they do with the head coach.
Who do you want for the coach? Who's on your wish list?
Tough. It's tough, man, because I think you can go in many different ways. What I want, though, is something different from McDermott. And I will say this, McDermott will always hold a special place in my heart and Bill's Mafia's heart for what he was able to do. He turned this team into relevancy. He built a culture. He made this team relevant again, essentially. And what he was able to do was impressive. But I think they need a forward thinker. I think they need an offensive mind. And if you go to Coolbet now, you can actually see what the odds are. The two guys at the start really scare me, though. Brian Daboll is currently plus 200 as the favorite to win. Would I love to see Brian Daboll be reunited with Josh Allen and be his offensive coordinator again? Absolutely. But anything that he showed in New York make me believe that this is the guy that you fire Sean McDermott for? Absolutely not. Number 2 is Davis Webb. This guy was Josh Allen's backup quarterback a few years ago. He just joined the staff with the Broncos, and all indications say that this guy is going to be a head coach one day. This guy's going to be an offensive coordinator. But to hand over the keys to Davis freaking Webb after him just having one season with the Broncos is insane to me. The guy who jumps out to me, Huss, is that number 3 spot with Clint Kubiak. What he's been able to do with Seattle is impressive. I think, like I said, I think they need an offensive-minded coach to work with Josh. But here's the thing. Kubiak's got JSN. Kubiak's got some nice shiny toys. I don't think it doesn't matter what happens with the coaches. There still needs to be some changes in that roster. That roster was unbelievably flawed. Go out and get a true number 1 target for Josh Allen. Then that is where I think I'll start to get a little more faith into this group. But Kubiak is probably my number 1 pick.
Can I interest you in a Mike McCarthy at 13-1?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like people saying Mike Tomlin. Sean McDermott is just Mike Tomlin, like 15, 20 years younger. He's come from the Tomlin tree. It's the exact same thing. Like, it would make no sense to fire him. And like, hey, just some of these takes are insane.
Cliff Kingsbury?
As an offensive coordinator, for sure, I'd love it, but I don't want that guy being a leader of men. Like, there's another name that's interesting. I don't know if I want him as a head coach, but like Brian Flores. Like, I was talking to Jake today and Finner. I said, like, because they brought up Dable, they brought up Flores. I'm like, those are 2 guys I have no problem being OCs or DCs. Like, you, out of all people, know this. Like, when you look at these championship teams, look at the offensive and defensive coordinators the Chiefs have had over the years. Like, though the OC and the DC is almost just as important as who you have as a head coach. Back to the future
now. EB coming back. Eric Bieniemy.
I know. Like, that's awesome.
Well, it is. I was kind of hoping. I would have loved to have seen whether they could have gotten McDaniel. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury would be a dream. But Andy's always going to be the offensive mind in the room, and the guy, EB, holds guys accountable, challenges players, and it's pretty clear that they needed it. But yeah, if you want to check out the odds, it's under NFL season specials. Jesse Minter's even money, the former DC of the Chargers, to be the next head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And all of the Bills ones were up as well. Hey, just before we dive into the Amex and busy night in hockey, how about them Hoosiers? Now, good for you. We were on opposite sides. You got the cover. But I have to tell you, as a guy that's now going to have to probably begin to cheer against Fernando Mendoza for the next 10, 15 years, the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. What a run for that team. I mean, one of the craziest turnarounds in sports stories you'll see. I don't think people understand just how wild it is that the basketball school, the Indiana Hoosiers, now have a claim for the best college football season of all time.
Ever. It's absolutely insane. The turnaround, it's one of the best turnaround stories of all time. Coming into like last year, Indiana is like the worst winning percentage in college football, in all of like sports even. Like, they are historically like just they were a terrible program. And Curt Cignetti comes in from JMU, and in day one, and at the time I'm like, what is this guy doing? He says, all I do is win. Google me. But it's true. That's all he's done, man. I know, what an unbelievable line. He wins at JMU. He was at Elon. Like, yeah, a lot of smaller programs, Division 1A, but all he's done is build programs, and he's changed the face of college football now, because he took half of that team in JMU, moved it to Indiana. And one of the things he was able to do is integrate them, and because you could only imagine how difficult that would be. Half a team coming into the locker room and guys being like, who are these guys? They're taking my jobs. There's guys that are transferring out of the program because they're my buddies and now they're out of here. But for him to have that buy-in and within a year, boom, turn around, win a national championship, like you said, not just win a natty, but do it in that fashion. It's unbelievable. And Fernando Mendoza, you're right. How could you not hate him? You're going to have to hate him on the Raiders. I think if you could pick the least Raiders football player of all time, it's probably Fernando Mendoza. I am terrified for that guy to see him living in Vegas. I hope he doesn't go off the rails and we have a bad ending to a fairy tale here. I think he's got his head on straight. I think if anyone can handle Las Vegas as a youngster, it's probably Mendoza. But the human chat GPT, one quick question from the reporter, and he just goes on for 25 minutes.
I was so excited for his post-game interview. I said, hey, can we leave the sound on? Like, we flicked the sound to the football game after the Jets were done, watched the last few minutes, heard Sig, and they were going to change it. Like, hold up. We need to hear Mendoza's address. And it did not disappoint. Great season, great story. And, I do wonder how many of those Indiana guys, which is not a place where you used to have a ton of first-round picks coming out of, do wonder how many of those guys move on. I'll tell you what, if they're not early picks, they'd be insane to go to the NFL because they'll be taking a pay cut. I mean, what that program is getting right now in NIL money for them to keep a championship team together of guys that'll be legends forever. This is the time to get it while it's good, and that means not turning pro, as funny as that sounds. Patty, we just
before we pivot on from college football, because now like the season's done. I'm sad, Jake and I are big college fans, and now that the Bills are out, I'm like in full draft mode here, and I've been looking at some of the mock drafts. Cool bet odds for the draft are going to be here before we know it. Have you seen who some of the mocks that the Chiefs have potentially? Jeremiah Love, running back, Notre Dame. Like, I've seen it on a few mocks here now. Like,
first round running back?
Dude, this guy he's unbelievable, Huss. That's how good he is. Top 10. Some of these mocks have him going that high. He's a game changer. He's a game wrecker. I know it's the days of first rounders. Like, we're talking like, his numbers were on par, if not better, than Ashton Genty because he was doing it against better programs. Like, I'm telling you, man, I would be very nervous to take a running back in the first round in the top 10. But some of these mocks I'm looking at have him there, and I think he is as real deal as they come.
Well, I'm looking forward to diving into some of those mocks now that we can move on. We've got, of course, the conference championship games are set up. Stidham in May. What? And Stafford and Sammy Darts. It was funny that the Pats Bronco game actually got up to 5 earlier today. It's back to 4.5. I think that's just going to flutter in between 4.5 to 5.5. It won't get to 4. It won't get to 6. So bet it as you want. And 2.5 still for the Seahawks over the Rams. We're back at it on the golf scene. Tough. Listen, I'm not happy with Corey Connors. He did not do us any favors with that final round. Actually, same with Nick Taylor, who was right there. It wasn't a great Sunday for the Canadians. But we're back at it, and we should just, I guess, get used to this. It's the Amex this week. It's Scotty Scheffler's debut on tour this week. And this is the world we live in now, where it's Scotty versus the field. Scheffler's 3-1 to win. And then the next guy on the board is Ben Griffin at 20-1. This is Tiger Woods stuff, really. But have you taken much of a look? Is the card starting to come together?
It has. I haven't finished my card before we get into the card. I will say I know it was a bad beat for us on our parlay. The Greggy's Golf Special did come home in week number 1.
Nice.
Bobby Mack finished T4, and Nick Taylor was, I think, T13. So inside the top 20 for both of them. Aaron Rye, not the greatest weekend for him, but all we needed to do for him was to make the cut, and he finished T50. So
great start to the season for
us.
the Greggy's Golf Special.
Yes, so I haven't built one yet. I have full transparency, haven't done it. Go to the combo cards, you'll see it later. But I do have a couple of outrights that I've already put down some money. Starts things off, like you said, I'm not touching Scotty Scheffler at 3-1, even though he's by far the best golfer in this tournament. He actually hasn't played very well at this tournament, which kind of leads me to believe that if he hasn't played well here, he is going to play well here and eventually win at this tournament. That's just what he does. One thing you have to keep in mind with the Amex, it's in California, La Quinta Golf Course, but they play on 3 separate courses. Like it's a rotation, and you don't miss the cut until Saturday. You play all 3, so you need well-rounded golfers. And as we talk about all the time, birdie fest. This could turn into a birdie fest. So you need a guy that has proven in previous times that he can go off and run away with a golf tournament, or at least keep hot and stay hot depending on which course he's on. So I'm going to go a little bit further up the board, get some value here. I don't have a single bet higher than 33-1, or I guess shorter than 33-1. Matthew Fitzpatrick starts my card. He's proven that he can win a birdie fest. He's got a well-rounded game, and he really finished last year, Huss, off very, very strong at the PGA Tour, but also when he continued on with the DP World Tour, finished in the top 5 of 2 of his final 5 tournaments, and then 4 top 8 tournaments over his last 6 events as well. So Fitzy 33-1 in his season debut. I just felt like that number probably should have been a lot shorter. Going to go with another guy who he played last week, looked really good, finished T6, and I know he's very trendy. Last week he's trendy here again, but for good reason, because he's been playing good golf. Harry Hall 40-1. He is a guy that is a birdie machine. 3rd in birdie or better percentage on the entire tour, and that was also in top 20 in birdie or better percentage in par 3, par 4, par 5, and then the last one. I kept scrolling for this guy because I thought like he was a course fit. Hasn't played great here in years past, but I kept looking, and I had to go all the way down to 66-1, as Tiger Woods likes to call him. Ashtray Bhatia, aka Akshay Bhatia, Tiger's his teammate on Jupiter Golf Club. 66-1.
As you were dropping these picks, I'm looking at Fitz. He says, 3 guys over 33. I literally have it. I pressed it. 100%. Ashtray is getting the bid. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because today is the 20th. We do have TGL tonight.
Oh, God. Do we?
LAGC versus Jupiter Lynx. The Lynx plus 140, LAGC minus 182. May have to tune into that before the hockey game tonight. But the Greggy's Golf Special will get up in the combo cards, looking to go 2 for 2 right out of the gate.
Yep.
And just before you go, Patty, I was proactive today. We were looking at the board for the National Hockey League. Lots of games tonight. And I have cooked up the Dog Delight. We're going 3 underdogs. And this is boosted just about to 10-1. The Wild over the Habs. You saw the Wild do a number on the Leafs last night. The Boston Bruins have been unreal lately. I think they won 6 in a row. Dallas has been in a real slump. We're going to take Boston over Dallas and finish it off with Buffalo over the Predators. 3 dogs. It's plus 866, boosted to plus 994. So get that up in the combo cards. And as I say, we won't spend any time today talking about the football because we've got our conference championship spectacular on Friday, where we're going to be making our picks against the spread, some props for the games, obviously our touchdown scorers. And then, you know, after narrowly missing the partner parlay last week, obviously on that tight game with the Bills, after going 2 in a row, we did hit the prop parlay, though, which was very nice.
Yes.
Shout out to Caleb for getting that. I was on the clock in that last game after you guys came through with Cup and Bo Nix. But we'll be putting together a same gamer from our picks for both of the games, and then a touchdown scorer parlay for the bit. And then Hammer and I and our winner Greg off next week to represent the Canadian Cool Bet contingent at the Costa Rica Poker Festival. Cannot wait for that. We'll have some fun. We'll crank out some content from Costa Rica for the Cool Bet socials as well as for WST, which should be a heck of a lot of fun. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to see that content. A nice palate cleanser before we get into the Super Bowl, which I can say, a little bit of a tease. We will have a special promotion just for WSTers for the Super Bowl. That's all I'll say. We're pretty excited about that, but we'll announce that when you're back from Costa Rica. But we also know Winnipeg loves their curling. And I know, it's the Scotties it's not as fun because in an Olympic year, you don't have the true champ in Homan, but Einarson wearing the Maple Leaf this year. And I think this is a huge, like prove it point being like, okay, I know Holman's on a heater, but we're still all class. I think it's a big opportunity. You should see all the odds, all the props that we have for the Scotties as well. So before that kicks off this weekend, definitely want to take a look there right now. 100, what is it? Even money. Yeah, even money for Einarson Carey to win the thing.
And Manitoba's loss second at plus 450. It is all up there. No one does curling better than Cool Bet. Shout out to Hot Dog. I know he's been I know he'll be he's been all over this, but you can get to qualify from pool play, winners of the two groups. How about this one? Will the winning skip be a former Canadian junior champion? Only the real curling hardos know that, and a full list of the junior hardos, but Hot Dog will be that. And then get Carey versus the field. Team Canada, even money. The field minus 139. So lots of great stuff up there right now. And I may have to do a special video from Costa Rica for this.
Yes.
Because not this Saturday, but the following Saturday is the Royal Rumble. Maybe my favorite thing. Normally we do a WST winners for it, but I will definitely get into the lab with the Royal Rumble picks. I did get a tip from a pal. Shout out to the Jets Pope who DM'd me today with the pick from Cool Bet. He was on the site. He was diving into the Royal Rumble. He said he watched Raw last night. They've made many allusions to potentially breaking the walls down. Yes. Winnipeg's Chris Jericho is likely to come back. Minus 147 for Chris Jericho to enter the Royal Rumble match. Noah's plus 110. And then right now, Roman Reigns is the odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble. I'm actually looking at some other ones there, but the odds are up for that, wrestling fans, and I will crank something out there. Patty, have a great one tonight, pal, and we'll look forward to talking to you on Friday. We both move on now without a horse. We got to listen to Jake. The Patriots, the luckiest team in the history of eternity, now get the Broncos backup quarterback one game away from the Super Bowl. As I said, no offense to Jake. I am officially supporting whoever wins the NFC in the Super Bowl. I can tell you
that's
that
a fact.
100%.
That is a fact. And Huss, like, we can't. And we can't have this. We cannot have this, especially as a Bills fan. Like, I've been tormented by the Patriots for so long. And then finally this window opens, and then you guys come into town and you swirly me for how many years. And then the opportunity of, okay, Mahomes is hurt. Here's the chance. If I have to deal with him in the Super Bowl and I have to listen to Jake, I don't know what I will do. But hey, what will help heal that a little bit is winners. And last week was probably one of the worst weekends of football I've had personally with my Bills. But I went 4-0, Huss. I went 4-0.
And had the national championship last night. Like,
yes. So
like you're hot right now. So people,
I am hot.
10 a.m. Friday morning. Keep an eye on what Pat's cooking. The misery of his team has forced him into an absolute heater on everything else. Patty, thanks as always for everything. You have a great one tonight, pal.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just as we wrap, just before we do our contest for the game tonight, in the National Hockey League, a ton of games. I mentioned what the parlay is. Sens are in Seabus to take on the Blue Jackets, and our pal Bones, Ottawa, slightest of favorites, close to a pick'em. Wild plus 115, Habs minus 135. Lightning, a huge minus 303 favorite against the San Jose Sharks. Dallas is minus 141 against the Bruins. Preds minus 122 against the Buffalo Sabres. Jets minus 125 favorites against the Blues. Blues plus 107. I don't mind the under in that game. Eric Comrie coming off a nice start. Joel Hofer's been really good in Winnipeg. And the Blues without Robert Thomas. Devils and Oilers. Oilers minus 172. And the Rangers and Kings in that final game tonight. Kings minus 182. Rangers plus 153. And as I mentioned in the combo cards, the Huss's Dog Delight boosted to plus 994. Minnesota, Boston, and Buffalo tonight, all to win. All there at coolbet.com. Use the promo code WST if you haven't already for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. All right, Remo, let's give these tickets away. I showed it again to our pal Mike Lay, accountant to the stars, who is going to be hobnobbing it in the suite tonight. So was kind enough to say, hey, I've got my tickets. Why don't we set somebody up from the WST Nation to go in? And Mike, very loyal season ticket holder, big Jet fan. I'm pretty sure that whoever wins this one will be cheering for the home team.
Yes, so I have the names in, and you'll be going to see Joel Hofer. Joel Hofer's career numbers, 907 save percentage, 272 goals against, but against the Winnipeg Jets in 6 games, 939 save percentage, 169 goals against. Not so nice.
Can't believe you pulled that Patriots hat on.
Well, you started talking about the Patriots, so I had it here. I was like, yeah, this is a good time to put it on,
back.
Right? I don't know if I'm like supporting them, but I had the hat, so I thought it was funny. I have a couple
triggering people.
I'll throw on the Vince Wilfork jersey for Friday's show. Sure thing, in support. I got to find a party to go to.
I've actually got a Drake May jersey.
Oh, you won it at a thing, right?
Yeah, just at a Monday Night Football. I got that. I won twice this year. Once was the May jersey, and the other one, which was the biggest kick in the nuts, the Trevor Lawrence jersey, the night the Jags came back and beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
Oh, really?
Just the reason why I was there. Oh, man. So anyways, if you're a Lawrence or a Drake May fan, make me an offer. I won't be sporting those myself. All right, let's fire up the wheel of winners and make this happen for somebody tonight for the game. Sure. I guess you've got emails, everyone that sent it in.
I'll just put everyone's names in, and I'll hide their emails, and we can email.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's why we do it with a draw, like through the website, so you can get their emails. It's, you know, when we do it, exclamation mark, I can't get people's emails from YouTube. There's no way to contact them. So.
No, it's difficult. Unless you're with us live on the chat, literally listening to us, it is difficult. So that's great. Anyone that was entered, we've got your email, and whoever wins, I will send you the tickets right after today's show.
Oh, let me grab this. Okay, I got to make sure I'm grabbing the first and last name. Hold on. I'm going to do this. Grab them. A lot of games on tonight, though, Huss.
What else do we have in the combo cards for tonight? The Super Boost is McDavid an assist and Brandon Ingram over 19.5 points for the Raptors. I bet that last week when it was Celebrini and Ingram. Celebrini got one early and Ingram ended with 19. I'll probably go back to the well tonight. Those odds are always too good not to get a little piece. What do we have tonight? Points from the point. Matheson for the Habs, Thomas Chabot for the Sens, and Alexis Lafreniere. I guess this isn't necessarily a point. This is kind of a strange one. It's I guess from a guy from the Habs and a couple other French guys. Anyways, that's plus 1926, just about 20 to 1. If you like the Rams against the Seahawks and you want to pair that with the Los Angeles GC from tonight, basically, if you think LA is going to win this TGL match and you want the Rams at almost 3-1 to beat the Seahawks, that's a nice little exclusive that's boosted. And a Suzuki and Caulfield both to score is 8-1. I'm not on that. I think the Wild will take care of that. What else do we have? The revenge game. Jarrett Stidham to pass for a touchdown and Cooper Kupp to get a touchdown. 21. Oh, I guess the Stidham is a rushing touchdown. Revenge game. Anyways, lots of cool stuff even for the football on the weekend ahead. And Friday morning, 10 a.m., the conference championship edition of WST Winners, 10 a.m. Friday morning, right here on WST. All right, let's spin the wheel.
Yeah, I'm just making sure all the entries. So you got a couple entries if you got bonus entries if you did subscribe to our newsletter. I had a really good one out this weekend. Connor's been helping me out with that. And you got a bonus entry if you followed us on Instagram too. So shout out to everyone who took the extra entries and helping us follow. Instagram's what we got 7K on there. So Connor does his game day reports. No morning skate today, but I'm sure we'll have some news. 5:15.
Yes.
Big press conference on the Alumni game. Very fired up.
Yeah,
debate.
well, I mean, we'll certainly be talking about the game tonight, tomorrow on the program. But we'll dive into who has been named, who is on the list, who we want to see added to the list as we look forward to next year's Heritage Classic.
Yes, and so I have all the names in. We're going to put them in the wheel, and we're going to see who it pulls out. Very exciting. Well, they'll be going to the game tonight. Jets.
Yes, they will be.
Jets, Blues.
Jets and Blues trying to start another extended long winning streak to keep the faint hopes of a whiteout in playoff hockey. I did like what the Golden Muzzy had to say about the Avalanche winning the President's Trophy, as we all know too well. He said they've got Boston a couple years ago written all over them. I don't think that's going to happen, but that it is. Oh, and I just got a text from Pat. I don't know when we're going to be launching this, but this is a sweet promo that we're going to be doing for WSTers with our friends at Coolbet before the Super Bowl.
Wow. My ears perked up for this. And I got some news, Murat, he's been on a bit of a leave, just had a kid. He's a dad now, but he's confirmed with me that he will join us tomorrow in his return. And I don't know if you read it, but he did have a great...
It was amazing.
A great article in The Athletic where I guess he was about to become a dad and then asked all the Jets what it was like. Asked Jets for fatherly advice. As a dad myself, I enjoyed that read. It was awesome.
Even not as a dad, it was fun hearing Eric Comrie call back to his wife about the chaos that's going on at home.
I had that situation. I was at a bachelor party and my wife texted me like midnight that there was a big mess at my bathroom.
It's way worse when you're at a bachelor party as opposed to being on the road for work as a professional hockey player.
It was rough. Felt bad for her. That's part of the job, though. It's part of being a parent. You're gonna just get comfortable dealing with messes all the time.
I mean, listen. I think about the single moms out there, what they're dealing with.
I think about it's tough, for sure tough. So it was a great
single dads. I mean, single parents and what they have to go through, especially with multiple.
I took a long leave from 1290 when I had my son, and thought, I'm gonna be playing video games, playing Netflix all day. It's hard. It's harder than working. It was very hard. So
okay, we got to get this pod up.
I'm here to BS all day. I'm here to talk more about.
What about the podcast listeners?
What about the alumni?
Can we think about them?
The alumni
We've got
roster.
a show tomorrow to do that. Let's
Everyone's.
I care.
What roster do I care more about? The alumni roster or Team Canada? Probably the alumni roster.
All right. Thanks to everyone that entered. And again, even if you didn't enter right now, definitely give us a follow on all the socials. We've got great stuff coming out every day, in addition to the main show with Connor down on the Jets beat and more. And if you go to the website, definitely get on the newsletter. Lots of great stuff through there. All right. Thanks again to our pal Mike for the tickets for tonight's game. I will send them to the winner right after we make the move. Please make sure you use them. Spin the wheel of winners and let's see who will be backing the Jets tonight at Canada Life Center. Kim Matthew. Right on, Kim. Kim, grab a friend and get ready to throw the jersey on and head down and enjoy what will hopefully be a great game at Canada Life Center. Congratulations to Kim. Thanks to everyone else that entered. And thanks to our guests today, Patty G, Trey Vaval, Jeff Hamilton, and the Golden Muzzy, Nick Alberga. I'm really excited to have Murat back on the program tomorrow. That will be a lot of fun. We'll, of course, hit the Jets. We'll find out how his life's been over the last few weeks, and much more coming out of tonight's game. And, of course, looking ahead to Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers coming to town to take on the Jets on Thursday. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Couldn't do it without you. And thanks to all of you for joining us on YouTube or listening on the podcast at your convenience. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the game tonight. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. We are out. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.